All right, board members and everyone, let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fellow board members, welcome. To you board members, I learned in just the last hour that Heather Schaefer took a test for COVID and she's positive according to our policies. She can't be at a school function for 5 days after her last symptom. And so she's not able to be here. Poor Mary, her car died on I-75. And so she's on her way here. She's switching with her husband. Her husband's going to sit with the dead car. And she's on her way here. But we do have 4 members so we can get the meeting started. So again, for those of you coming in, if you have an agenda, I want you to, if you're here to speak, I want you to realize that unscheduled audience participation is towards the end. It's actually on the 4th page. It's item number 10. Board meeting is public, but it's business. So for those of you who have never been in a board meeting before, much of it is us talking to each other, us making motions, us doing things, and you're observing. And then unscheduled audience participation is a chance for it to reverse. And you get to speak, and we get to listen. And matter of fact, I get to listen. You're speaking to me as the president of the board. You're not speaking to people in the audience. You're not speaking to any other board members. And it's a chance for us to hear you. And then we work towards moving towards the close of a meeting. So if you're wanting to speak at unscheduled audience participation, there should be some 4x6 cards, or I don't know what size they are. They're there at the corner. And the agenda is there as well. Chad, as the VP, Mary is not here. Would you do attendance?
I will. President Donnelly.
Here.
Vice President Griffith here. Secretary Hanser, no. Treasurer Bailey.
Present.
Trustee D'Alessandro.
Here.
Trustee Foster, no. And Trustee Schaefer is absent as well.
And for those wondering, Trustee Foster knew a couple weeks ago that he was not going to be able to attend today's meeting. So we're anxious to get Mary here, and our thoughts and prayers are with Heather as she deals with her ailment. Superintendent Weaver, are there any changes that you know of to the board agenda?
None, sir.
All right, so we move on to item number 3, the consent agenda. There's a number of things, board members. The minutes of the April 18th special meeting, the minutes of the April 18th closed session, the minutes of the April 30th board workshop, the minutes of the May 5th special meeting, the minutes of the May 5th closed session, and then we have a number of new hires, a social worker, a few counselors, special ed teacher, a English language arts teacher, and then, as always, our bills payable for April. Would someone like to put that motion on the floor? Dan?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there support? Chad, support? Any discussion? Yes, sir.
It was during one of these workshops, the board workshop, it was brought upon our attention about a couple different things. Hires. When we hire people, we offer them a position. Sometimes they start before we approve them. Mm-hmm. Those are all based on a background check. Those background checks come to us. Then these folks get put on this list. If that background check goes away or it doesn't
pass,
it doesn't pass, then the person is rescinded that position. Is that correct?
Yes, and if we vote that person down, right? Because we
Correct.
we get all of those in our board packet. So you might think we just ran through a bunch of people. We have their stuff in our board packet reading through it.
Right. So it makes no difference if they are offered a position, start a position, work a few days. the background check is done. If we say no, then that person doesn't get hired.
They become a permanent hire as soon as we vote.
Exactly. I just want.
The action of this board is the hiring
There's always
moment.
some confusion around
Yes.
that.
Yes.
There's always has been. So I want to make that perfectly clear.
I'm glad you clarified that
This action is now they become employees.
right now in this vote.
And the background check is done.
Correct. Oh, yeah, always.
Prior.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Prearranged request to address the board, number 4, Mr. Noose, to talk to us about graduation. Hello, Mary.
Mayor, I tried to preface by having a long-winded comment to give you a little more time. Glad you make it.
Settle in. Let her settle in just for a second. So we'll add her as an attendee. There you go.
6:36.
Thank you.
Do you like us to wait when you say the pledge?
Mr. News, please.
Thank you for having me today. I just wanted to take this opportunity, as we do annually, provide both very brief update about what we have done in the past over the last week or so, and then preview what you are to expect over the next 9 days. Last week, for the first time, we've had our celebratory clap out for the first time in a couple of years. A very successful seniors last day, and an extremely successful prom, our first since 2019. That one for all attended. Typically we get about 600 and so students. This one I believe we had 750 or so. Katie Getz, Dave Brown, and their team, along with a bunch of vendors and community members, hit it out of the park and went way above and beyond for our soon-to-be graduates and our junior class. In the next week, we're going to continue to celebrate the class of 2022. Our over 5th years have their capstone night on Thursday in the OHS Commons. Mr. Suckley probably has gotten a hold of you regarding those. Baccalaureate will be hosted by our local churches on Sunday at 6:30 in the PAC. And our senior academic awards night will be held on Monday, a week from yesterday, in the PAC at 6:30. The culminating event of the class of 2022, which is why I'm here today, will be held on Thursday, May 19th at Pine Knob, returning to its previous history name, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. To preview a little bit what's going to happen on those days, so you know what to expect. In many ways, we're going to return to our pre-COVID, pre-April 2020 events, where we have fairly unlimited attendance. We'll be able to do a lot of the things that we haven't been able to do the last couple of years to celebrate our seniors. So again, in many ways, it's going to be returned to our pre-April 2020 days. In other significant ways, you're also going to notice some adjustments to our ceremony, as we will recognize recent events on the lives of our 4 students who are taken from us. We have worked hard with families, students, and others to make sure that we will balance the celebratory nature of commencement while we honor the lives and accomplishments of both Madison and Justin, our 2 seniors this year. Specifically in the first portion of our ceremony, we're going to invite family members to the stage and make sure we take time to honor both the accomplishments and the lives of both Madison and Justin, and present diplomas to their parents and families. I just wanted people to be prepared for that. Other similar ways you will see, as you know, most of you have been here for several years. I organized most of graduation. I'm a fairly thorough human being. So your gowns are going to be delivered to Angela at the board office by Monday. You're going to get tickets for those gowns for the first time. We will have tickets this year. We wanted to make sure, because of our current situation, we want to make sure it is an Oxford event. We maintain security, but also made sure we had space for Oxford families and those who are tied to a graduate. So if you are in need of additional ticket, make sure you let Angela know, and I will accommodate you as best as possible. By Monday, you will also get the direction sheet. Hey, this is where you pick up your cap and gown. This is where you line up. This is all the things you need to know, how you enter DTE. And then by Tuesday night, I will get you your board diploma list. for you guys to wrestle with. I do ask that no matter where you end up on that graduation list, in the alpha order, that we try to stick to that as much as possible unless it is a direct relative of yours. You will have some staff members tap you out to give it directly to their son or daughter, as we've had in the past. We are looking for 75 and sunny. We are in need of a break in the weather. I think we finally got that. We are looking for a great evening to celebrate this incredible class. So if you have any questions, I can answer those. If not, you know where to find me. Or check with Angela, and I will get her the information you need.
All right, any quick questions for Mr. Noose? Thank you for your hard work.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you. We move on to number 5, curriculum and instruction. Anita, you have a presentation and some requests.
I'm actually inviting Ann Robb,
Awesome.
Director of OELC, who's going to share a little bit about a new edition of a playground and some reconfiguration work that's running for OELC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. As you saw in your packets already, OELC received some grant funds through the Child Care Stabilization Grant, so we'd like to use part of those funds to put towards an early childhood DKK playground at Lakeville Elementary. They're the one elementary without that playground, and because of that, our preschool kids over there aren't allowed to play on playground equipment, as awesome as it is. So, and then the second purchase we'd like to make is an upgrade to the office furniture at OELC. It's just much needed to help, with better collaboration, and my staff has no workspaces at all, so part of it's going to be creating the teacher's workspace and then upgrading our main office that parents walk into, and then the other area where the 3 other office ladies work. So, do you have any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
How about if you stay close? We'll put one motion on the floor at a time, and if we have a question for you, we'll shoot it your way. Would someone like to put the first one? Corey?
Move to approve the purchase playground equipment from We Build Fund for the total amount of $74,954 for Oxford Early Learning Center as presented.
Thank you, sir. Support? Mary, support? Now discussion? Yes, sir?
And you said the funds for the playground equipment, that's tied to the grant? Okay.
Yes, so it's Child Care Stabilization grants. We received $500,000 as a child care center, and we can reapply for that same amount of funding again in a few weeks. So there's not a whole lot of stipulations. It's just to help support child care centers. So I feel like this is a great use of the funds.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
use. Anything else?
Very nice.
Seeing none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to the second motion for the furniture. Someone want to put that on the floor? Corey?
Move to approve the purchase office furniture from Interior Environments for the total amount of $39,154.83 for Oxford Early Learning Center as presented.
Very good. Is there support? Dan, support? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you. We're on to item 6, Board of Education matters. I move to meet in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8E, for the purpose of consulting with its attorney regarding trial strategy in connection with case number 21-CV-12871, 22-1922620-NO, 22-CV-10407-MAG-APP, and 22-10805, and Section 8H, to consider material exempt from disclosure under federal state statute, specifically FOIA, provision regarding attorney-client privilege, MCL 15.2431G. Is there support? Corey, support? Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Mary.
Mr. D'Alessandro?
Yes.
Ms. Hanser, yes. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly?
Yes. It is 6:45. We're going to leave this open meeting. We're going to go to the LGI room and have a brief closing session, and we'll be right back to finish the rest of the board agenda. Thank you for your patience. All right. It is 7:27, and we're back into our open session. We have finished the close. We're still in Board of Education matters. We're going to letter B, FOIA request appeal, Oxford Community Schools. Would someone like to put this motion on the floor? Corey?
Move to accept receipt of the FOIA request appeal from Summer Schwartz and to issue a notice to extend the time to respond to the Summer Schwartz FOIA appeal for not more than 10 business days from this date based on the unusual circumstances surrounding the appeal.
All right, is there support? Chad, support? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. As we started in our last meeting, Mr. Weaver, we're talking about points of pride.
Yes.
You're on.
All right. So tonight we've got quite a few points of pride, and so I'll try to go through them as quickly as possible, as well as though honoring the different schools. At Crossroads, they have a student who's currently homeless and trying to make ends meet. He just graduated from Crossroads Day School. As Guy says, this kid is the definition of resilience as he's persevered to graduate despite those circumstances. The HR department has been contacting all OHS employees to check in and see how they can support them. They have sent cards as follow-up. The feedback has been positive. At Bridges, the group of seniors, the current seniors, have had a rough last 2.5 years with COVID and being at the middle school at times. It has been stressful, full of anxiety as well. And yet every one of them completed graduation expectations and will be walking on May 26th. That is an awesome accomplishment for that group. Computer programming and auto shop programs partnered together to provide OHS students with a reverse field trip. General Motors provided students with a rare experience to see several vehicles before they were even available to the public. Students were able to ask questions about the vehicle, sit inside, and even rev the engines.
I heard they were revving engines.
Yes, quite a bit. I think we had a few board members there as well. It might have been revving some engines as well. Athletics, after 2 complete sports seasons for the 21-22 school year, Oxford Athletics ranks 5th in the entire OAA for overall sports success. I think we got quite a few athletes here tonight, so that recognition is awesome that they're here for that. It's determined by a compilation of factors such as total sports offered, participants, academic excellence, all league and all state qualifiers, and league championships. And there's a total of 21 schools in the OAA. So final tally will be shared following the completion of the spring season. So we look forward to see where that ends up. Clear Lake, Point of Pride, since the last week of March, they've formally recognized over 100 Clear Lake students for living the IB learner profile in exemplary ways. Transportation, the OCS Transportation Department has 3 drivers participating in the MAPT District 18 School Bus Rodeo on Saturday, May 14, 2022.
That's not a figure 8 where they run.
I'm not sure what that is and what they're rodeoing. So it's been 20 years since we had drivers in the rodeo. So
That's great.
Awesome. LOFT program, the transition students in our LOFT program catered to special needs program or special needs prom hosted by the OHS leadership class. The LOFT students prepared and served the food for the event. They were extremely professional and provided a fantastic meal. They even got to dance a little. Student Services had a very busy enrollment season with 312 new students in the enrollment process in grades DK through 12. We're hopeful for many new Wildcats to come and want to welcome all our new families. Leonard, bringing back community Bringing back community events at the school has been wonderful. They had a full house for our daddy-daughter dance in April and our Mother's Day kindergarten musical concert. I was actually out at the Leonard PTO, and they were talking about what a success that event was. DA, Daniel Axford, has been designated as an evergreen school by Oakland County's Michigan Green Schools. Food service, at May 10th, Lakeville Elementary will be given the Lunch Hero Award from MDE. They increased breakfast participation by 78%. They serve approximately 394 students breakfast every day. There are only 6 schools in Michigan to receive this award this year. Elementary IB, DA Leonard and Lakeville completed the self-study IB process and reauthorization visits in April. The reviewers were very impressed with our schools and programs, and we are so proud of the staff and students of all 3 buildings. Last year, just to remind you, OES completed their reauthorization visit, and this fall, Clear Lake will have their visit as well. OVA is proud that our first 5th, 6th grade camp experience for students was a rousing success. At OMS, 257 OMS 8th graders, staff, and chaperones recently spent 4 days in Washington, D.C. Trip highlights this year included personalized tours of the Capitol with staff members of Senator Stabenow, Senator Peters, and Congresswoman Slotkin. Meetings with senators, representatives, and laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This has always been a fantastic trip. Proud to say that I got to go on it when I was the middle school principal. And at OHS, Mr. News stole a little bit of my thunder in the prom. I actually attended for about 45 minutes to an hour on Friday night. It was fantastic. The place was just really dressed up, and it was just amazing. And yes, we had a tremendous turnout of kids. It was just an overwhelming number of kids. No, that's the last thing that any of the kids really wanted to see was
They didn't
Mr.
want you to
Weaver
dance?
I couldn't dance when I was 18, and it hasn't gotten any better since. So,
Thank you, sir.
A few years, eh?
yeah.
Thank you. And for the community, just to know the points of pride, obviously this year we have had some pretty heavy-duty board meetings, and one of the things that we miss is traveling from school to school and being in each school throughout the year and having them show us and having young people doing presentations. And so a meeting or two ago, the board asked Superintendent Weaver to bring that back in some way by highlighting points of pride every month so that we're kind of always remembering why we do what we do. And so thank you for that. Yep. We move on to D, memorial presentation. There have been some questions and concerns about the temporary memorial that would be put here in the school. And we've asked Superintendent Weaver to provide us, as well as you, a timeline and a history of where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. So please.
Okay. First of all, I mean, this has been a very...
Is that on?
Yeah, it is. I'm
Thank
just
you.
too tall.
Thank you.
Can we get a couple of books? That might help because I'm too tall. And I don't want to hunch down for the whole thing. All right, how's that?
It's good.
All right. So it's been a very difficult journey as we've gone through this process, trying to figure out what exactly and how. As you know, the first and foremost concern that we had was obviously, amongst all the other things, was getting back to school, planning that transition, both K-8, and then was primarily with Mr. Wolf, the planning the return of the high school, both at the middle school for the 2 weeks, and then as well returning here while making sure the building was repaired and ready to accept kids. So one of the things that, you know, looking back on the process, would have probably done more homework at the beginning. So, I mean, I'll be quite honest. Mistakes were made along the way as we went through this, as we went through the different process, because we really didn't know what to do. and tried to figure out as we were going, and that's not the way to do any of this. We really, after the temporary memorial came down, we were trying to address the grief, trying to address all of the tragedy brings up in people, and trying to figure out how best to do that. And so we tried to do this as we were going through this, through the process, like I said, in February, of trying to make sure every day was successful up here as far as coming back, at the same time trying to navigate doing something that's extremely difficult to do, because obviously everybody has opinions, and they all should be valued, but at the same time, being responsible for the health and welfare and safety of all students in this situation, trying to make a decision taking all of those variables into account. So going through all of the literature, all of the resources, this is kind of, and this was in the letter on Friday, in that letter, this is the advice that we got, and quite honestly, there is not, and you're not going to find, like, research. This is all the experts' advice from the different organizations. I'm not going to read everything to it. Most of you have read the letter as well, too, so you can see that there. And one of the things I'd like to clear up, too, when I'm talking about, like I said, there was mistakes along the way. One of the mistakes I made was to think that we could vote and figure things out that way. But I was told adamantly, I was the one that first raised that up and thought we could do that with different groups and try to figure out a location, and was corrected by all of them that that's not what you can do. Because it does not, as I said here, and it kind of hit home, what percentage of or number of children are okay to negatively impact. You have to think of all the children, and a vote does not consider the impact the memorial has on everyone. And that was pretty hard to listen to and to hear. So I do apologize for some of the missteps that we've gone along. This is very difficult. I would say that every school that we contacted has not tried or done anything like this. Many of them have taken years, up to 7, 9 years, to actually get and have a memorial put in place. So we have tried to do this somewhat quicker, and it's really not a memorial. It's really meant to be a dedication of the courtyard, and I'll try to see how that, and show you how that evolved into what needs to be done, because I will tell you, one person cannot carry the weight of deciding what will impact and what won't impact all of the kids. I'm not going to carry that weight. Like everybody else, I've been through a lot. These are the different resources. They're also posted on the website as well, too. They are pretty much all say the same thing. The basic idea is basically do no harm with the memorial. So, given that advice, obviously the temporary memorial was up until January 23rd. Under the advice, we took it down so that as the kids transitioned into the high school, the effects that the memorial would have with re-traumatization would not be there for the kids as they came back. And making sure that at that point, and this is the hard part, is that for the people coming back and for their well-being, you have to help them have an environment that is best and most conducive to healing. Now, some of that is recognition of the students and those that were lost that day, but it has to be done very carefully. So on that temporary memorial, we were very careful to make sure that we captured it. We had a 3D image, a website that's still up on the website that you can still go look and see. And the families were given a DVD of the temporary memorial so that they had that always. In February, we attempted, like I said, before we'd actually done most of our research, to try to find a way in which to honor Hannah, Justin, Madison, and Tate. We were doing a Wildcat review at the time, a layout of the 4 children, and trying to get that just right, and trying to work with the families. We also said at that point, after hearing how, and obviously realizing and knowing the impact that this obviously had on the 4 families, maybe we could do something where we did something in the PAC. We tried some other locations in that. We worked with Dr. Henry on them. Quite honestly, we couldn't come to a real agreement with all the 4 families, as well as with having staff and the people that were there, and then also Dr. Henry as well too, and the idea of pictures. Dr. Henry was never very happy with the pictures, but we pushed him, and he said that they might work, but you have to make it completely optional at that point. And he was very adamant. When we got done meeting with the families, he actually turned to me and said, Ken, you have to decide, and you have to take in all 1,800 kids as you decide, and staff members, what to do. So we kept working with the families on the Wildcat review. Understandably, it took a while for them to get the material in. I would imagine the difficulty and the pain that this caused was probably quite unbearable, but they managed to get it in, and it went to press. In the meantime, we started figuring out other ways in which to honor Hannah, Justin, Madison, and Tate. We started looking at the courtyards, realized it would be a great area for reflection. Decided also, we had talked earlier, much earlier, about planting trees. Ryan Patterson, a student, and I should have called him out in the letter, and I totally forgot. Ryan Patterson, I met with him and Mr. Wolf, and he had an idea with cherry blossom trees and planting them out as I showed you everyone on the map. And so we started moving forward with that. We also worked with Jostens to donate a patch, as well as donating a banner for the gym, and looking at having students and student leadership start doing spirit days in honor of Hannah, Justin, Madison, and Tate, as well as then November 30th, making sure, because we're already in negotiations, setting up school calendars and everything else, making sure that we looked at November 30th is what we were doing, and it will be a day of service. Students will not have school. Teachers will be working towards picking out a service project. The idea with student leadership is to have student leadership contact the families in the fall and start working on what service projects would they like to see done in the honor of the 4 children, and trying to push and make sure that that happens as well too. In May, at that point, the decision was made to, rather than do a memorial, we would dedicate the courtyard to the kids and try to get started. I think Mr. Wolf has already started with helping have crews come in on the weekends to start cleaning up the courtyards, as well as I promised to use some of the donation money that we have received, that is just general use, to use on the projects, and to try to establish reflection gardens as well too, and so that is in the courtyards, and it's this courtyard right here, as well as we may expand out into other courtyards as well, and trying to get those ready. At this point, this is where I feel comfortable taking things at this point and making that decision, because it was, like I said, expressed to me very clearly that while maybe 70, 80, 90% of children may react positively to the memorial, you cannot predict or possibly know who would react negatively. And while it is somewhat optional, it is not clearly optional, as many classes utilize the media center on a constant basis, and it would be quite visible as it is going to go in the middle of that pathway. This has been a very difficult journey. I did send Dr. Henry the email that I sent out. This is his reply. I'm laughing because I see Mrs. Stubalinski fixed the typos that were in it. But this was his reply, and trying to figure out the proper balance between honoring the kids and trying to make sure that nobody's recovery was negatively impacted or set back. It's a very difficult journey. It's one with not very many right answers, but like I said, for one person to carry the weight and making this decision, I am where I am at because of that. The committee that eventually is formed will have the duty of figuring out the permanent and the temporary memorials and where they would go and other ways in which to honor the children, because this is not the only way in which that could be done. And there's a lot of, quite honestly, there's a ton. I probably drove Mrs. Stubalinski crazy. There is a lot of mock-ups, a ton of different versions, and trying to figure out how best to do this. That's my report at this point. Is there any questions from the board?
You probably could come back to your seat. So board members, having heard the report on the memorial, any thoughts, any comments, any questions of our superintendent? Mary?
Mr. Reaver, I appreciate your time on this. And it seems as though having a committee set up that has input from different areas, we would be able to gather the information that we need so nobody is harmed. I know that from my work on different teams, I think I have a great idea, and the people I talk to think it's a great idea, but once I bring in people from other areas that idea impacts, it starts looking a lot different. So I appreciate your time on this, and it sounds like some kind of committee would be the better way to go, so people's needs are served, and we can learn how the decisions that we make impact those areas that we may not be aware of when we just talk to the people that we know. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mary. And also, the committee, not yet created.
No, I think that would be...
Would that be a school creation, or is that going to be a community creation? Is that going to be the township? How do you see that committee being established?
I think that the school board is going to have to not be the committee, but establish the parameters and
with facets of different things.
Get students involved and get a committee involved so that you can carry that decision and figure out all of this, and no one person has to ever carry the weight if it does end up negatively impacting somebody. I think that's the way to go, and it is, quite honestly, is one of the lessons that we learned when we talked to the schools. They said, don't do it. Quite honestly, they said don't do it because it's painful for everybody, those that want it, those that don't, and you need to be ready to figure it all out. And quite honestly, we were not. And we had to learn as we went, and like I said, I apologize. You know, we did the best we could, Mr. Wolf and I, but It's just, like I said, I'm as far as I can go with the decision, and it needs to be a community decision, not my decision. And I've tried and tried, but like I said, at this point, this is what I'm offering. There's other things and other ways to figure this out, and maybe some other stuff that the committee can figure out and do it, and there can be a happy medium, but it can't be just my decision.
Understood. And one more question for me, and I'll get you, Dan. Did I see on one of the slides that it was stated that in our contact with, regrettably, other schools that have gone through something like this, that not one of them has a memorial inside the building? Did I see that on a slide?
Yeah. Most of these, because of security, as far as the impact, and I'm talking about, with schools that have had tragedies where one student has passed away, and tragedies where 17 and more have passed away, and so forth. Yes, none of them. Some of them are outside on school property. Some of them are off of school property.
But in the community? In
the community. Some of them have been put up rather quickly, within a year or two, and some it's been 5, 6, 7 years as they've tried to figure out and make sure, because it's also, especially when you have 4 families, trying to accommodate and make sure that you're taking into account the 4 families and they themselves, or any families that are involved in this, unfortunately, trying to figure out and come to some agreement on that. And it needs, like I said, at that point, there needs to be a process that's done.
Yeah. Dan?
Thank you. Ken, I would imagine, as you said, there's many different formats that you put together, that Danny put together, ideas and how we move forward. But I guess if we're going to move forward as a board and kind of take this on and kind of figure out what a committee looks like, because you're right, one of the things that we as a board need to understand is Ken, Steve, Cabinet, the employees of this district, they still have a job to do day in, day out. And this needs to shift from that load of responsibility. A lot of these things need to shift from their responsibility. This is not the responsibility of 1 or 2 people. This is the responsibility of a community. This is the responsibility of Oxford's. So I'm requesting notes, anything that you have. We can take this, we'll all take a look at it, dive deep into it. I think we get ball back with Tom. We hear from some of the folks today, the kids, and then we start the work that we need to do. This is just one facet of the work that has to be done, and we're going to do it. But as Mr. Weaver said, it's a heartbreaking endeavor. And as heartbreaking as it is for us, it's 100-fold for our students and our families. And we got to work double hard. And we'll get it done. So we got.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
And just the last thing, I do apologize to the families. I did my best, but for any pain or disappointment I may have caused, but I hope they can respect my decision at the end.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you. Chad.
Thank you, Tom. So, what I would add, we're talking about process. We're talking about responsibility, committees, but underlying all of that, this board, this cabinet, all of administration, the underlying drive here is so that we don't forget Hannah, Madison, Justin, and Tate. I promise you that.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, we move on to E. We have the responsibility of voting on the proposed general budget for Oakland schools. And so would someone like to put this motion on the floor? Mary?
Move to approve the Oakland Schools 2022-2023 proposed general budget resolution as presented.
Thank you, Mary. Support? Chad, support? Discussion? Yes?
I had some great notes from the meeting at Oakland Schools and the fabulous things that they're doing, and left them in my car, which was on the side of the road, which was why I was late today. My husband graciously decided to wait for the tow truck. But what I do know is the incredible support that we've received from Oakland schools in this district since November 30th. They offer a lot of services to districts in Oakland County that are duplicate for us sometimes, but they're there for the whole county to use. And some of those services we do use, and they're there when we need special services, and they absolutely have been there for us with all the support since November 30th. So sometimes we wonder what Oakland Schools does. They're doing a heck of a lot for Oxford and continue to do so. So I really appreciate their dedication to us, and I'm always getting asked, and I know Dr. Cook Robinson is talking to folks too, just about what can we do for you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Dan?
Kind of going through it, and one of the things that I want to fold into our next part of next part of the agenda is mental health assessments through Oakland County schools. How does it affect not just us? And I did not find in the line item of how much they have budgeted for mental health assessments as they pertain to districts throughout Oakland County. Well, that wouldn't be a reason why I would not approve their budget. It would be something that I think we need to be mindful of moving forward, that needs to be a consideration for what percentage of that budget is allocated towards that, and how is that shared amongst districts countywide? Is it based on your amount of pupils that you have? Is it based on the amount of money that you throw into the pot? Because we all know that other schools in Oakland County through the state get different foundation allowances than we do. So I want to make sure that we're mindful of that as we go forward, of how that is in their budget.
Great point. Great point. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Just for a point of information, F, Oakland Schools Board of Education election. We've gotten several emails, so at our next meeting, we'll be doing some voting for those positions. And so pay attention to your emails. Mary, the website has also bios or intros, don't they?
That is correct, and tomorrow night, Oakland County School Boards Association is hosting a virtual event to meet the candidates. They're doing, it's a candidate forum.
What time is that?
So,
You know?
I believe that starts at 6:30. You do have to register for it. It's for Oakland County School Board members, so anybody on the board that is interested, I did send out a reminder email. Angela's
saw
been
that.
forwarding the emails. Thank you very much, Mrs. Weaver. And if you want to learn more about the candidates, there are 2 incumbents for 2 seats, and there are some newcomers too. So if you want to learn more about the candidates, fellow board members, tomorrow night is 6:30. But please sign up ahead of time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, anything else on the elections? All right, we'll move on to 7. Mr. Barna, Finance and Operations. It looks like we have a motion that you want to talk to us about.
Yes, good evening. The motion is basically acceptance and recognition of the donors that we've been graciously provided their resources from the past several months, obviously since the tragedy. Within your board packet, I broke up the donations, and so we have large donors that are those donors that have donated $5,000 and above, and also small donors, obviously anything less than $5,000. So as you can see from your board packet, you know, just the generosity that has been shown to our students and staff and the district as a whole has just been so touching. And I just wanted the board to obviously be aware of these funds. And just really quick, as you can see, beyond the MHSSA, who donated approximately $300,000, I know that we recognized that at a prior board meeting, in addition to $25,000 from State Farm. There's the list that you see in front of you that also does show the GoFundMe that was raised out of Brighton for our therapy dog program, as well as approximately 14 other large donors. Those other donors, again, beyond those large dollars that I just talked about that we previously recognized at a prior board meeting, some almost $250,000 by themselves. And then the small donors, again, another approximately $50,000. So again, this is as of last week, Thursday. And so again, we still are receiving donations. During the last couple of days, I've received some small donations that aren't captured here. So again, that is basically what's in front of you, and I just wanted to make everyone aware of that.
Thank you, Sam. It's pretty overwhelming, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's touching. Thank you.
All right, would someone like to put this motion on the floor? Chad?
Move to approve the donations to Oxford Community Schools, including large amounts over $5,000, and donations to Oxford Community Schools in the amounts less than $5,000 as presented.
Is there support? Support. Dan, support? Discussion? Yes, Mary?
Thank you. These are donations to the district, and some of the donations are going specifically for the therapy dog program. We aren't obligated by law to account for these in a specific way, but I absolutely would like to see and hear about where some of these funds are going, these funds that are donated by our community members that aren't specifically earmarked for a specific program. So.
And Sam, that's the plan, obviously, right? As we begin to pick what we do with these things, we're going to make it public and let people know what we're doing?
That's correct.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to 8. Mr. Pass? Yes, please. Make sure the microphone's on. Thank you.
Well, so first of all, I wanted to thank the board for approving our personnel recommendations tonight. A number of employees that we've hired, and want to pay particular attention to some of the hires that we've made. In addition to our high school staff, you'll see that we have added 3 counselors that we've recently hired. Some great additions to our staff, as well as an additional social worker. And so you've probably seen in prior communications, we are expanding the number of counselors at our high school from 4 to 6. We did have one of our counselors took a position at Oakland Schools. Another one had shifted over over to our virtual program. And so right now we're up one in total and still hiring an additional counselor. Also want to provide an update for the board. We are in the process of interviewing for different administrative positions. We're in the final steps of our Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Instruction to replace Mr. Weaver, who is now our superintendent. We completed our second round today for our Director of Curriculum and Instructional Technology position, and then begin tomorrow and Thursday first round interviews for our Recovery Coordinator as well as our Executive Director of Student Services and Wellness. So we're really excited, had some great pools of candidates. Look forward to providing an update to the board, and hopefully we'll have some recommendations to you at our regular meeting in June. So
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
thank you.
We move on to number 9, safety and school operations. Mrs. Lamond? More books?
More books.
Wearing heels.
Handheld,
Okay, good evening. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So I just wanted to share with you all that we had a parent, I don't want to say it's a survey, but we use a survey function for parents to apply to be on a safety committee as part of the school district. As you are aware, and hopefully everyone is aware, we have a committee that already meets semi-annually that includes law enforcement and several other different entities throughout the community, including fire, village management, and things of that nature, stations like that, EMTs. And we wanted to include a parent voice on that committee. I was very pleasantly surprised and overwhelmed with 67 parent applications for that committee, and we were only hoping for 2 spots. It doesn't seem right when I saw how many parents were interested and how many parents really were highly qualified, because I asked for safety and security background. We have some fantastic qualified parents in our community that I need to hear from and I want to hear from. We are going to create a subcommittee for them then, and have possibly, I think we're looking at 2 co-chairs of that committee who would report to the greater large district-wide committee. Additionally, after looking over some of the survey data, which I know Mr. Weaver is going to go over in a later board meeting, but we've had hundreds of students, over 500 students and over 700 parents who told me about safety and security ideas, and we saw that the students want to be involved in the safety committee, and so we're looking at 2 student spots on that subcommittee as well. So I would encourage everyone who's here today, talk to your friends, and we're going to come up with a process that will be presented soon as to how to pick those 2 students. It's a limited number, but I would really like some student voice, and I think it's important. Applications right now are being reviewed by our safety team for those 67 that I received. I didn't feel like it should only be my decision, so there's a team of us who are going through those, and anyone who has been chosen, the 11, will be notified by this Friday. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And when I mentioned that safety team that I was talking about that meets, and also that safety committee that's been meeting for years, a very important member of that committee is here tonight, and I just wanted to introduce him to you. Mr. Jason Russell from Secure Education Consultants is going to be presenting to you. I believe it's the next agenda item, and I wanted to welcome him here tonight and thank him for being here and invite him up.
Thank you, Jill. That you had him. Got him
Get the presentation.
Thank you. First of all, while they're pulling the presentation up, I want to thank the board for inviting me. And I want to thank the parents and the students that are here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we've done for safety, part of the review. We provided some documents that will be available online. My company conducted a review of the safety and security of the district. And I think it's important to note that this is an ongoing process. This isn't something that just happens one time. We'll be continuing to work with the district to make sure that they improve the safety and security, as things move forward. So my company, basically my background, most of my career I spent as a Secret Service agent, so I've been doing safety and security for over 20 years. I started SEC in 2012. We work with several hundred school districts across the country, over 60 districts here in Michigan, and our focus is really holistic safety and security. So we're looking at everything that touches safety and security when we're doing a review. We work with our clients long term to make sure that they continue to make improvements and adjustments as needed. So I've been actually involved in the district since early December, really looking at what is in place in terms of safety and security, if there's any adjustments or improvements that we can make, and we've been making those adjustments and improvements as we go through this. And I want to point out one thing, I think it's important. Not only do I have this experience in doing schools, and we work with businesses, the state of Michigan's a client, we have clients in a lot of different sectors, but I'm also a parent. So everything that I do in terms of safety and security for schools, I think of my own kids. I have a daughter who's in high school, a college daughter, and an elementary school son. So I think for the parents in here, it's important to note that I'm looking through the lens of not only a security expert, but also a parent. So everything that I do is really designed to not only make the school be safer, but feel safer. And I think that's some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. But just to talk a little bit about our process, when I talk about an assessment, we're looking at everything. So we're not just looking at the physical security, we're really looking at everything that could possibly impact security. So I think it's important to note that a lot of schools have the right stuff, they just don't necessarily use it correctly. So a big part of what we're looking at is not only are the things there, but how are they being used? And is there any opportunities to improve the things we currently have or add to things that we may need to make us safer? So we're taking a lot of time to review policies and procedures. We're spending time interviewing administrators, interviewing staff, reviewing every document we can possibly get our hands on. And then we're examining the facility, so we're going through and looking at the physical security, the locks, the cameras, all those things. We're interviewing, like I said, we're talking to as many people as we can, because really what we find, especially in a district like Oxford, is if there are any adjustments, it's usually in the fine details. It's usually not the big stuff, it's usually the fine details that we need to look at. So you really find that through interviewing and observing the security and how the operations of the school work. So I had an opportunity, and we spent a lot of time going through this process, and we have made a lot of adjustments, and we're going to talk about some of those. I think one of the things to point out is we generally don't make our reports public. We don't necessarily want to share, but we are sharing a portion of that. And I think that's important to note for the community, that's something that the district felt pretty strongly about, making sure that we were sharing some of those things. So then we recommend and review. So we're not only saying, okay, here's some areas we can improve, but here's some ways we can do that. It's important to note that when you're looking at how you can improve, you have to really, you don't want to jump into a solution. You really want to take time to make sure that you're considering all the different elements of that, which would be, how is this going to impact operations of the school? What are the long-term impacts in terms of culture and all those other things? And truthfully, what are the impacts in terms of long-term costs and budgets, right? So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to all that. And then really it's about adapting and improving. I think the thing to note about safety is it's an ongoing process. Every organization across the country has the opportunity to improve. I think when the mistake is made when you say, okay, we're good, and then you stop. You always kind of want to be looking at what can we do next. So that's the process we go through. And one of the things that I think is really important about what we're going to do going forward is, I'm going to stay really close to this. I'm going to make sure that I'm involved in this district as we move forward and we continue to improve the safety and adapt over time. So the elements that we look at, this is just a graphic of kind of, here's the things we would talk about. And I think most of the time we spend isn't on the stuff, it's on the processes and procedures that back the stuff up. We find that most places actually do a pretty good job buying the things. But sometimes it's just adjustments in the way we're used to things, or just adjustments in process and procedure. So we're trying to get that holistic view, that 360-degree view of a district, an individual school, to really make sure that they've kind of covered all the bases in terms of safety and security. And truthfully, one of the bases is, how safe do the people feel? I think there's a perception of safety, and then there's a reality of safety. And oftentimes when you have the feeling that you're not safe, there's a gap there. And part of my goal and my role here in the district is to see if there is a gap, how can we close that gap, right? It's not only are you safe, but do you feel safe? And I think that's important to note. And I can tell you, as a parent, sending my kids to school, I not only want to know that they are physically safe, but I want them to feel safe, right? So I think it's important to note that we're going to really spend a lot of time focusing on that, and I think a big portion of what this committee and the subcommittee will be able to do is really try to close that gap and increase the, not only the physical safety of the school is very strong, but also increase that perception. A layered approach to safety is what we always recommend, so it's very important that when you're thinking about how can we be safer, that you're not just focusing on one particular layer. There's a lot of attention that gets focused on physical security, and I understand that because it's tangible. I can touch a camera, I can touch a lock, but the reality is physical security only plays a limited role in terms of overall safety and security. Obviously we want technology involved, and we're going to talk a little bit here later in the presentation about some of the new things we've done. We spend a lot of time on policies and procedures. What are emergency procedures, entry procedures, access control, threat assessment, all those things we spend a lot of time focusing on. We look at equipment and then training. We've really, even since December, we've touched every single area of every school in every single one of these layers, and we've doubled down, we've tripled down when possible to just continue to layer it on. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again because it's true. I've assessed thousands of schools. I've assessed hundreds of districts across the country, and I can tell you that this district, regardless of anything else, is in the top of the districts that I've assessed, and was in the top of the districts that I've assessed, and that's just the reality. The things are in place, and there's obviously always things we can do to improve, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that. Some of the things that we have done, and I think the perception that, I want to make sure people understand things are happening. We're trying not to make fast decisions. We're trying to solve problems or make adjustments that are prudent and make sense. There's obviously an increased security presence at all the schools. Not only that, but we've actually looked at staffing and how we position people to make sure that there's coverage in specific areas, that we don't have gaps or any weaknesses in coverages. We've increased security at every level down to the elementary school, and I think it's important to note that. And not only does that presence, I think, increase security, but it also helps that perception of, do I feel safer? And one of the things that I noted in speaking, especially with the elementary school administrators, is just how big of a difference that presence has made to parents and to kids. And many times the person that is in that role has actually developed these relationships that I think continues to improve that presence. You have, in my opinion, one of the best school resource officers around in Deputy Lower, and you have some great security people at the high school here as well. We've adjusted some communication things. We've added some speakers. We always want to focus on making sure that we can spread information as quickly as possible if we have an emergency situation. So we looked at improving that, making sure that we could communicate quickly across the areas, making sure that there were no weaknesses or gaps, and we've added some technology and really added some pieces in there. We have added not only some cameras, but also technology to the cameras. We've added we were able to get a pilot program with a software called Zero Eyes. It's a detection software that works with the camera system, and if it detects something, it automatically alerts. It's monitored by a live human being. So that is a real-time technology solution that we've already deployed. We're working on a pilot program with them. They've donated that product to us for a full year for free, and it is a live human being with security experience monitoring our cameras if there's an incident. So I think that's important. We're in the process of looking at, and we're going to probably also pilot a detection device called Evolve. It's not a metal detector, it's a weapon detector. So we're working on that. Miss Lamont and I are actually in conversations with them to pilot that. We're going to hopefully pilot that even yet this year, and then determine how it impacts. One of the things you have to consider is how does it impact the operations? How are we going to be able to arrive and what's it going to do? So a big part of that isn't simply saying, hey, because I know it feels good to say, hey, let's put this in place and it'll be everything. We also have to look at the impact that this will have on the operations of the school. So, but we are going to pilot that, and I think that technology is promising. It's different than metal detectors because you don't have to take everything out of your pockets. It's free flow. If you've ever been to Disney, it's what they use there. And obviously, the alarm devices, we've added some stuff to the cameras. You know, we've added some things that we don't really want to make real public, but I think it's important to understand that we have looked at, we have vetted, we have examined technologies at every level to make sure that we're doing everything we can possibly do. We're in the interest of the district trying to get the best possible solutions to make sure that not only are we safe, but we want people to start feeling safe. So I think that's important to know. And this isn't the end. We're continuing to look at this stuff all the time. Security adapts over time, and we want to make sure we're adapting with that. And that's part of my role in the district will be to really continue to stay on top and say, okay, what else can we do? You know, if you're in the top 5% of schools, I want you in the top 1%. And I think that's where we need to be headed. Obviously, you know, we always recommend continue with your best practices. You know, basic blocking and tackling is always important when it comes to security. So our process is really assess, see what your issues are, make a plan, equip yourself, and then train. And I think we've already done, in addition to the physical security features we've added, in addition to tweaking some processes and procedures, and some of that you'll see available in the report. I personally have already done multiple trainings with the district personnel on a variety of different elements. So we're continuing to double down on those training things to make sure that we're doing everything we can possibly do. Obviously focusing on, you know, I come from the world of prevention, so we're really focusing on this early intervention and really trying to prevent things before they happen. It's great if you can respond well. It's even better if you never have to do it. So our focus, it will continue to be on prevention and seeing what we can do to stop incidents from ever happening and once again increase that perception. And I think, you know, I've hit on it a couple times, but I do think it's important to understand that, you know, I work with schools all around the country, and as we get closer and closer to your district, that perception of are we safe is prevalent. But I've been in districts where the reality is they're not safe, but their perception is they are. And that's not a good position to be in. So what we need to do, and what I'm taking it personally upon myself, to work with the committee and work with the community and whoever else wants to be involved, quite frankly, to figure out how can we not only be safer, but make sure that people feel safer. You know, I think it's important. It's important to me as a parent, and I think it's important to the community to make sure kids feel safe, and that's something we need to spend some more time doing. Training, obviously, is always critical, and continuing to refresh your training. It's one of the things we focused on here, is putting a cadence together to make sure that these skills, whatever they may be, are refreshed and renewed, and we're not getting complacent. We're not in a complacent stance right now. We're definitely in an active stance, and I think it's important for people to understand that. And then ongoing reviews and adjustments. We're going to continue to look at this stuff. You know, I'm here. I'm going to work with the district as long as needed to make sure that we continue to do what we can to improve and adjust as we need to. And you know, I think that's the best practice, is continue to look, how can we be better? How can we be better? And you're constantly trying to get better and better in terms of safety and security. So that's kind of a baseline level of what we do. You know, like I said, we've been around for quite a while. 2012, I started the company, and we really have a pretty good reputation. We work with, like I said, over 60 school districts here in Michigan, several hundred across the country. State of Michigan's a client of ours. We assess the Capitol building, so we've got quite a bit of experience in this area. So, any questions from any of you?
Corey?
Just for the audience, you know, transparency and making sure there's no bias. When you keep saying you're a parent, not a parent here, correct?
Oh, absolutely, no. My kids don't go to this district, but they do go to a public school district. So, yeah, apologize for that confusion.
Dan?
Jason, thank you, and thank you for your ongoing commitment to our district. It's not like you live around the corner, and I appreciate the time and your effort to get here at our request to make this public. It's important to our community, and I appreciate that. You mentioned zero, maybe I wrote it down, 0I?
Correct.
Who mans that, and where is it located?
So it's a monitored system, so if the system detects elements that are alertable, it actually goes to a live person with security or military background at a monitoring center. It's monitored in real time. And they're able to then alert the school, alert the police, and then follow any incidents in real time.
So they have the ability to access a live feed of our cameras and control our cameras throughout the district.
They can't control the cameras, they can monitor the feeds of the cameras.
Let me rephrase that. Instead of controlling the camera, go from one camera to the next to the next.
Correct.
So if there's movement throughout the building, that is...
Any cameras in which the software is deployed on, they can access those cameras.
And then follow up?
Sure.
You mentioned evolved weapon detect. It's a pilot program for schools, or is this a technology that's been used in other places? You mentioned Disney.
Yeah, this technology has been widely used. It's not a new technology. The difference between this and a metal detector is it's designed to just detect weapons. It's designed as a weapon detector, as opposed to a metal detector, which can have, you have to take your keys out, all that stuff. This is designed to limit the amount of things you have to separate from a person, so that you can have a little bit more efficiency in terms of movement, which in a school environment is important. You know, we never want to line everybody up outside the door. We want to try to keep things moving as quickly as possible.
So then the natural question is this at every single door, or is it just because we have several dozen points of entry in this building alone?
We're going to pilot it to see how it works at specific entrances, and then depending on those pilot programs and how the operations work and what the issues are, because you have personnel issues, you have to think about if there's a hit, you have a secondary search, all those things. So it's a program that we're going to look at and determine how effective it is, and then based on that we'll make a decision on how it's appropriate to move forward with that. But the company has been very responsive in terms of understanding the financial impacts that this has, and we've worked with them on a pilot program that will be cost neutral.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? To the community, I just want you to know that a question might be like, why now? If this has been going on all this time, one is we needed it to happen. We needed it to happen without a lot of people knowing that it's going on. Number two, as Jason has said, there's certain things you don't want to publicize. You normally don't publicize your report findings. We have put pressure on Jill and others to get this out for your sake. We wanted you, for the first time, to hear someone other than Jill or some employee from the district about what's going on here in our district for safety. It has been said by us, it's our number one priority, but some of that has been doubted by the community. And this was our first chance to be transparent, to reveal some of the things that we had, some of the things that we're still doing. And I just want to thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you. Good.
Jill?
Thank you, Mr. Russell. So as was mentioned in his presentation, we are looking at a variety of different solutions. I just want you to be aware that we're profiling those. And so coming up with not only, what it looks like and what it might feel like and what doors we might put it at or things like that, but then also cost and the cost for 3 years. Everything that we're doing is through the scope of the 3-year plan, just to keep it all apples to apples throughout the district. I did want to he stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to mention to you about the AI technology and really just thank those companies that have reached out to us. Many security companies have offered us free trials. We aren't just grabbing anyone up. These are only the 2 that we're looking at right now. As he mentioned, Zero Eyes and then Evolve Technologies. Give Evolve Foundation is the name of the organization that we're working with. But we are also reviewing web filtering services, black powder ammunition dogs and handler options, school visitor management systems, phone applications for safety, ballistic shields, wearable panic devices, and window shades. And then I don't want you to be surprised when you see the bid package is going to be coming out hopefully within the coming week, 2 weeks, for the mass notification system I've mentioned to you in the past as well. I really want to just take a moment and note that we are not making any specific decisions yet. These are all ways for us to better understand these products, to see them before we do anything here at this building. The one pilot that Mr. Russell was referring to would be probably just for a week or 2 weeks to see it, to see if we like the way it looks, feels, and if it's even reasonable for us to do a longer trial period with it. So I think that's all we have for you tonight.
Any final comments or questions for Jill while she's there? Dan?
So, as I mentioned earlier, we have a significant amount of points of entry to this building. I guess the natural question is, I know we can't lock a door, we can't chain a door, fire codes, all those things would prevent us from doing that. However, is there an assessment that we can undertake that says, that door, nobody's used it in X amount of time, fire department says it really doesn't have an ingress-egress impact on a fire issue? If we can limit the points of entry in the building, I would be one for wanting to kind of understand that.
I can certainly add that to...
Because locking up a door that's never used makes all the sense in the world to me.
I can talk to the chief about that at the committee meeting, but I think what's maybe more important to your point, though, is that we have added alarms to certain doors within this building that I won't mention which ones, that will go off if they are exited throughout the school day unless you have a staff badge that disarms the door. So we saw through video evidence and watched patterns of student behavior which doors they were going out throughout the school day or propping open throughout the school day, and so we're systematically alarming those doors. I believe there's 3 now at this point that have been armed throughout the day. So in the security office, they can visually see the door, but then if the alarm goes off, it's a silent alarm intentionally so as not to induce panic, but it is alarmed in the administrator's office as well as the security office at the high school. So we are looking at similar solutions, but I can bring that one up.
Anything else? Mary?
Thank you, Jill. That just brought something else up, that it's everybody's responsibility who is in any of our buildings to be sure that we're all following the rules, that we're not propping doors open or letting people in other doors because they're our friends, just different things like that. So I think that's an overreaching piece of this, is that the systems and policies and procedures are only working if people follow them. So it's everybody's responsibility to be sure that we're following the procedures that we have. Yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Jill. And to the community, I just want to reiterate that, as you can see, SEC's work with us began in December and hasn't stopped. So we have been working feverishly and still continue to work, as we're going to soon see more bid packages and things that we're testing. We hope that hearing it from someone other than an employee is beginning to provide some assurances that we are combing through this and doing it continuously so that we can, as I love the way Jason put that, not only be safe, but make sure that you feel safe, which are essential to getting a good education. Yes?
That is probably the most important thing that we discuss outside of the review and it's outside of the security. It's always been this board's realization that if we're going to have honest and open conversations, or if Jason's going to be able to have open and honest conversations with a number of people in our community, in our buildings, he had to be able to do that uninterrupted. So while there was a a lot of angst in the community, while there was a lot of questioning, and rightfully so. It was very important for us that he be able to do his work uninterrupted, and do it in a manner in which we didn't jeopardize the ongoing criminal cases. Because the minute that he is unable to do that work, it becomes more and more difficult to get the facts as he was able to do it. So I, for one, would like to say that if anybody felt any kind of way, if we made them feel any kind of way about not being quote-unquote transparent, it came from a position of the utmost respect for the families and our students and our staff.
Thank you, Dan. And we're really excited as well with Jill that so many parents want to be involved, and that there's going to be a subcommittee, and that even some of your students want to be involved. It's making us really happy, this next progression, where we're going next. So thank you for that. We are on C, third-party review subcommittee report, and this too is something that has been a bit vague, and so I guess as the board president, one of the things I want to do is apologize. We created a committee, a subcommittee, and that subcommittee has been communicating with companies, and Chad is going to, on behalf of that committee, talk for just a minute. But it was most recently that we had some special meetings, and some people were concerned about why are we having these special meetings right now. Well, we happened to go to a Saturday training, and we talked about the committee, and the person training us said, those have to be public. We thought as long as less than 4 people were on the committee, it didn't have to be public. We didn't know what we didn't know, and so we immediately had to make some fixes to get the work that they've been doing into a place where they could create some minutes, and then work it into a place where they could have it be public, so that we could get to a point where they can speak to the board. So there was no intent. It was like we were doing a right thing, but not the right way, and so we quickly had to go boom, boom, boom to get it into play so that we could have this day. So with that, Chad?
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, so on behalf of the third-party subcommittee, I guess in the spirit of brevity, I'm not gonna drain this report. It's in the board packet. Everybody here has probably read through it. But in this report, we touch on requirements, timing, some candidate firms, qualifications, things like that, right? So, to be clear though, what this report is not, it's not coming with recommendations at this point. It's just a matter of sharing with the board the steps that we've taken, some of the conversations that we've had, just to get you up to speed on where we're at, right? So we have spoken with 4 different firms: Guidepost Solutions out of Washington, D.C., Safe Havens International out of Macon, Georgia, Jensen Hughes in Chicago, and ATAP Security in Lansing. Some of the things that we're looking for within these firms: what is the previous documented experience that these firms have in performing reviews on the scale that we need? What's their previous experience working in the educational space? That's a critical piece, because these firms are engaged in any number of reviews, working with municipalities, with universities, different organizations, right? So, what experience do they have working in our industry? The firm should have representation with law, safety, education backgrounds participating, right? So looking at the folks that work for these firms, what are those backgrounds that they're bringing to the table, what value. In any of those scenarios where a firm might be missing or lacking the discipline, the backgrounds that we're looking for, what is then their ability to call in experts to fill those gaps, right? And the ability to call somebody in at a moment's notice, right, as they're working through a scenario they may come into, right? They could come into something that they don't know. What's their ability to quickly pivot or quickly bring somebody else in to help answer those questions? Yep. So that is one thing that we did come across that was interesting to us. Talking with some of these firms, talking with other districts around the country, in terms of when and how they perform these types of reviews. Everybody seems to have a different answer. Most are telling us that they haven't done them. If they've done them, they haven't done them immediately. We've talked before about allowing the legal process to work through. That's the general sentiment that we've gotten from other districts and these firms. Some have actually said that this is not a step that they've taken. Right? So like I said at the beginning, this is not a recommendation coming from the committee, but I wanted to just share that piece. I thought that was interesting.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Are there any questions?
Anybody have anything for the committee? All right. Thank you very much for that. We're going to move on to a third-party public statement, third-party review public statement, and so what I want to say prior to reading this is we committed to a third-party process back in December, but we as a board have never defined it. We've never told you exactly what we had envisioned in this third-party review. And what you saw Jason with SEC do is a first of that. And so as we began, and please understand, as Ken said earlier in this meeting, we're in uncharted waters. This is not something we've ever done before. And so one of the things we've realized now, 5 months in, is that this is most likely going to be like we did with Jason, that you're going to hit spots where we've developed something and now it's time to bring someone in and do an evaluation of that piece, and then you're working on another piece, and so now you have another scope and you bring someone in, a company, and they review that, and so what you're going to hear in this statement is that it's an evolution of understanding that it's not going to be as simple as naming one thing and saying go do all of this, because many of them can't do all of it, but we still want to get it done. So the best way to do that is to know that we've reached a point where we've gone as far as we can go, and now we need someone to come and say, are we doing all right, or do we miss something? We need your recommendations, and then get to the next thing and the next thing. So as you listen to the statement, I want you to hear that we're not changing anything, we're evolving on how we see this ought to be accomplished, and we see it as several independent reviews, not one singular. And you're also going to hear some of the facets of that. Yes, sir?
Thanks, Tom. And I wanted to say this before you read, that it's exactly what Tom said. It's exactly what we need to do, because the 7 of us, and quite frankly, everybody in central office, yes, it's our first rodeo, unfortunately. And you have to get up to speed real fast. And, but that's not an excuse. But as Chad just said, many schools haven't done anything. Many districts, they didn't even, maybe they weren't the size, the scope. Our intent is to put a scope together that does the very best to stop this from happening anywhere else. And that doesn't happen by the 7 of us. That happens with a lot of people and a lot of agencies and a lot of collaboration. So that's for the outside. But for the inside, that starts with, that's us, the 7 of us together, our staff, our students, our parents, and our community, understanding that this is not a 3-month process. Folks, this is a long haul. And we're resolved to do the very best that we can, as Ken said earlier, to have a positive solution, not just a solution. So,
thank you, Dan. So bear with me as I read this statement. Our Oxford school community continues to heal after the tragic events of November 30th, 2021. As your elected board, we have been working diligently to support our staff, students, families to grieve, heal, and move forward. We appreciate everyone who has helped us return safely to school. We also remain grateful for the continued outpouring of support from across our state and around the globe. As we have begun work on the third-party review of the November tragedy, we want to define for our community the scope of work contained in the review. As the safety and recovery of our school district is our most important responsibility, we believe it is essential that the board's third-party review contain 2 key components. First, the 3-year plan for recovery, currently under development by superintendent and district administration. Superintendent Weaver presented to us several meetings ago a 3-year plan. As we looked at that 3-year plan, we realized that some of the items that he's going to be addressing are very things that we wanted in the original review. And so we began to think about isolating scopes versus one massive thing: safety and security, emotional, social well-being, surveys. How can governmental agencies? So we began to look at what our vision of a third-party review, which is more than just what happened on those that day, but what are things that we have known, what are things that will improve or help us if we had known them, and how could we prevent in the future? And so that's the first thing, the 3-year plan for recovery, that we would attach that as a means by using our independent reviews. Secondly, obviously, the tragedy itself and the associated events of November 2021. We thank the countless members of our community who have reached out, sent emails, or made telephone calls, attended forums, board meetings and town halls, filled out surveys as an initial step in the development of the 3-year plan. And I think that's important to realize. We did not create the 3-year plan. You helped us create the 3-year plan as you participated and made Superintendent Weaver and the cabinet aware of the things that we could put into this program. As the superintendent and district administration develop a 3-year plan for our recovery, we are calling on our superintendent to continue working with experts to develop the 3-year plan in the following areas: safety and security, mental health, social, emotional learning, staff wellness and retention, community and government outreach and resources. Once the plan is complete this summer, we call on the superintendent and district administration to have the 3-year plan reviewed by a third party such as the National Center for School Safety or others for comprehensiveness and effectiveness before the 3-year plan is implemented at the start of 2022 and 2023. The third party will be reviewed and approved by the board. So what we've charged Superintendent Weaver to do is this summer develop the plan, his 3-year plan, including these facets. We're going then to have some experts come in independently and say, are we missing anything? Is there anything else that should be in the plan that we're missing? If they bless the plan, then it's his job in cabinet to begin to execute that 3-year plan, in which we, throughout that process, can have other independent reviews take place of these components. Since safely returning to education is our top priority, the board immediately began work examining the safety, security of our students and staff. As announced in our December 4th letter to our community, we engaged a third-party security consultant to review all district safety protocols and procedures. That extensive safety and security evaluation of our entire district by secure education consultants, and you heard from Jason today, is now completed. This SEC review is an important step in our continued effort to provide a safe, secure learning environment for all students and staff. As your board, we encourage you to review SEC's PowerPoint presentation and report, including key findings, recommendations, and actions the district has taken to enhance security and safety, which will be posted on our website as a link. Our district-wide safety and security evaluation is part of our return to school plan to reclaim our school district. The safety and security evaluation of our entire district performed by SEC has made us stronger and safer. We now want to turn our attention to the second component of the third-party review, the tragedy and associated events of November 2021. As you know, our district has been fully cooperating with the ongoing criminal investigation and will continue to do so until its completion and justice is served. The ongoing criminal cases have understandably delayed the release of information that could be essential to our extensive review. Oxford Community Schools is also responding to numerous lawsuits at the state and federal level, which will require attention and time from our legal team, our staff, and our board. Given the nature and the breadth of the current criminal and civil proceedings, the review of the tragedy and associated events of November 2021 will not occur until the criminal and civil litigations are complete. Once the litigation process is completed and all information has risen to the surface, a team of experts will conduct a third-party review. Our subcommittee has begun the process of vetting, which you just recently heard, of potential third-party entities to complete this part of the review. People inside and outside our community who have joined our call for transparency can be assured that all facts will come to light and no stone will remain unturned through the ongoing criminal investigation and pending civil litigation. We will be engaging highly qualified experts as part of the litigation process to thoroughly review the tragedy and the events leading up to it. Detailed and factual reports and analysis will be made public through the litigation process, while public court proceedings will also provide transparency and a full accounting to the Oxford school community. We have fully cooperated with the Oakland County Prosecutor's investigation from day one and will continue to do so. For these reasons, at this time, we will be declining the Attorney General's latest offer to conduct an additional review. We would like to address the state legislature's role in school safety. We support the Michigan House of Representatives Task Force and its charge to improve school safety. The task force has assembled a team of varied expertise to review the current state of school safety and to make recommendations to state legislature. As part of this review, the House task force is purposing that the state conduct an independent third-party safety assessment of all schools in Michigan. We have previously provided input to this task force, and we welcome any opportunity to continue to participate in that process. As your board, we will continue to make the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and families our top priority in our continuing mission to educate all Wildcats. That means working together to support our amazing school community throughout the challenging days ahead. We remain committed to making regular updates to you, the community we serve, as developments happen and as we are able to share. Together, we are Oxford Strong. I'm certain that there will be more questions and there will be chances to clarify some of those things, but let me just reiterate. We are not changing our commitment from December. We're modifying it and adjusting it because 5 months in, we realize how in real time there are certain things you can't do, but there are certain things you can do. And so the 3-year plan that is going to be worked on this summer is going to cover 4 or 5 of the facets that we wanted as part of a third-party review. When I say that the third-party review was always intended to be more than just studying the events of that day, it's because the events of that day are going to be combed over and have already been combed over by prosecutors, sheriff's departments, police officers, attorneys, and depositions. When we say that no stone will be unturned, it will not. It's all going to come to the surface. But it's not coming to the surface yet. So some things we could do is do like a scope of catching you up on where we're at with safety. When we finally vet the 3-year plan, we're going to share that independent review with you. When Cabinet and Ken's team finally develop some strategies for social emotional learning or some programs on how we can better have surveys and understand what's going on in our students, then we're going to have that reviewed. We're going to do a review every time time tells us it's the right thing to do. And we're not going to stop. It's just, we thought at once it was as simple as hiring one company and just kind of like, okay, do this. It is not that simple. Not if done right. Because you need different people with different expertises depending upon what the subject is. So what we've done now is do it subject. The last question you're probably going to ask is, why are you doing the events of that day last? Because all the information isn't available. There is information that only the Oakland County Sheriff's Department and the prosecutor has. They're the ones that went into the house. They're the ones that gathered computers and books. They're the ones that know information that we don't know. It would be ill-advised for us to start a third-party review about what happened that day when we don't know all the facts. All the facts have to come to the surface, then we can do a third-party review. And so I know that is wanted. It's wanted by us as well. But I assure you, as soon as the trials start, things will become public. They'll be on the news every day. It'll be in newspapers every day. You'll be getting updates from us when appropriate as things develop through that legal process. Now things are going to get released. Now we're going to know things we didn't know. And once all that information, it makes sense to us that once all that information is finally at the surface, then our independent review can scoop over that and glean over that and say, okay, here's the closing of the book. Here is everything. Everything from looking that direction and looking that direction. We've always wanted the third-party review to be holistic, systemic. Let me give you some examples of looking that direction, because these were conversations that were had. What if agencies in the state or in a county talk to each other? What if there was a situation where one agency may have gone to someone's house 2, 3, 4, 5 times in 5 years. Another agency, a sheriff's department or police department, has been. Would the integration of that information help a body of people have a knowledge or a little more information about what might be going on in someone's life? Has someone developed social emotional surveys that we could start giving children at elementary levels, and simply 2, 3 times a year you're taking these surveys which are monitoring how you're doing? And if we could do that, and they could be put into a database, and all of a sudden you reach 8th or 9th grade or whatever, and all of a sudden we put the data in on your survey, and poof, something goes over the edge. Something hits a number, and we're going, who? Has someone developed that? Is there someone at a university someplace that's put that together? That if we just knew it existed, we could put it into play? This is way beyond just looking at that one day. It's about trying to get to know all of you better throughout your whole education. And be aware if something's happening in your life, if something's happening in your family, if something's happening, not that we want to be in your lives and your family, but if something's affecting you, is there a way that we can find out and that information can be gleaned? So that caring people will begin to start reaching out to you to see how you're doing. I'm just trying to give you a picture of some of the early conversations that were had as to what if government agencies not only communicated, but what if legislature made laws to make sure that they did communicate so that information was accessible? Would that make a difference? Would that help? We don't know. But those are the kinds of things we felt that a third party independently getting work done and studying would help us. And so for the first time, we've had an opportunity to define, because remember, we're the ones that created the third party review, and hence then I think we get the right to define what its intent was. And it's just simply broader than just one topic. It's holistic. The kind of things that we would like is, what if we touch on just 1, 2, or 3 things that if every high school or every school district in the country applied those 2 or 3 things, we might get closer to what Jason was talking about, which is prevention. Prevention. Not reacting to when it happens, preventing it from happening. So with that, I'll leave that as an addendum to an explanation for our most recent public statement. So board members, I think what we have, because our resolution was something we voted on, we have a motion to accept this as a merger into that resolution. Would someone like to speak out that motion? Chad?
Move to approve the Oxford Community Schools Board of Education third-party review public statement dated May 10th, 2022.
Thank you, sir. Is there support? Dan, support? Discussion from you, board. Dan?
I think that is at this point, it's within our 100% purview to move forward with any firm that we would deem fit to fit any of those scopes that is put forward by our plan. I don't believe that it should be selected by any outside entity. It should be selected by the school board. It should be selected with information gathered over a period of time, and if we have to pivot from one to another because it best suits their expertise, if you will, or is in their sweet spot, it is incumbent upon us to seek everybody out because they deserve it. Our staff deserves it, and our community deserves it. And as long as we're resolved to doing that, I'm on board.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to unscheduled audience participation, which is number 10. We're going to take about a 3 or 4 minute break because I want to get to the cards and get those. So if you want to stretch your legs for a second, come back in about 3 or 4 minutes. Pull ourselves back in. We've got a number of people that want to speak during unscheduled audience participation. I think one more clarification from me to you that I would like to offer is you heard us say that for the second time that we are declining the AG's offer. What I want you to hear is that in our statement we stated at this time. Because in our timeline we've moved the study of the events of that day. The value of the AG is not in the social emotional side of things. It's not in those areas. If there is, it's in the evaluation of the days of that event. And since that particular scope is going to be at the end, it's not time for us to think about that. And so the phrase in particular is not at this time, because it's not time. It's time to do soon some other reviews, but not that one. And when that one comes up, we'll talk then and begin to study then. So I just wanted to just provide that brief explanation as to the use of the phrase, not at this time. All right. Brady, Elling, did you fill out 2 forms? Okay, come on up. Come on up.
Mr. Donnelly, do you want to talk about the timer?
Yep. As soon as she comes up, I will explain to her and everyone else. All right, so what's your, for everyone that comes up to speak, so if you've looked at the rules, for every card, you have 5 minutes. There is, see that little orange light right there? That will go on at 4 minutes to let you know you got 1 more minute to wrap up, and then it's going to go on again at 5 to say close out because it's the next person's time. Always make sure that you hit the button so it's green. If it's not green, hit that button in the front.
It is.
All right. Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Sylvia. I'm a freshman at Oxford High School, and I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak to the board tonight. Hannah St. Juliana was the type of person who you couldn't help but love. With Hannah's kind, sarcastic, and witty responses, people were drawn to her. I had the honor of being one of Hannah's closest friends. She was so often by my side going to football games, volleyball games, weekend hangouts, even our 9th grade homecoming games and dances. Hannah brought excitement even the dullest of days, and without a doubt, she could cheer you up on a whim. Hannah was unique. She danced her own drum. It was one of the many qualities I admired about her. I'm here today to express thoughts about the temporary memorial that has been the topic of much discussion between Oxford administrators, trauma specialists, and other schools which have been which have experienced violent crimes. Missing from this equation, however, is the input of Oxford High School students as a collective whole. In district emails sent to parents and on television news reports, statements from Oxford Community Schools suggest student and parent input has been considered when determining the type of placement of the temporary memorial. Throughout the 3-month period of being back in the high school, many students have not been asked questions about the placement of the temporary memorial, or the option of showing the faces of Hannah, Justin, Tate, and Madison. Some students and parents have approached district principals and administration themselves regarding the temporary memorial and placement of it. But students as a whole have not been approached by the district to gather their input. Students have suggested a survey with specific options be distributed by the Oxford School District to all current 9th through 12th graders to gather input. No survey has been distributed to help our voices be heard. As students, we want to feel as if we are being heard and included in creating the temporary memorial. We want to support the families of Tate, Justin, Madison, and Hannah. The written pieces provided by Tate, Justin, Hannah, and Madison's families are beautiful tributes to their children. To those entering the school in the future, though, a written piece will tell of their children's qualities, but not show the radiance and individuality that Madison, Justin, Hannah, and Tate conveyed through their smiles. Hannah, Justin, Madison, and Tate were high school students who smiled countless times in a day, who made peers and friends alike around them glow with happiness. The only way to truly represent these 4 lives to current and incoming students is to show their beautiful faces. Administration keeps saying that seeing their smiles will be triggering, yet has it occurred to them that to many of our students it is just as triggering by not seeing their faces. We no longer have the privilege of seeing their faces in classes, hallways, or even school-run events. Seeing pictures of their faces would be reassuring to many when we have been deprived of them in our high school for the past 3 months. My best friend deserved more than what she was handed in life, and she also deserves more than a faceless banner and sign to memorialize her. Hannah can no longer fight for herself, so now we have to. But we shouldn't have to fight for this. We should, as students, members of the school and community, want to remember them in a way that truly represents them. The shooting that took place on November 30th will forever be in the school's history. Madison, Hannah, Tate, and Justin's lives were lost in the school. Don't let the image of their cheerful faces be lost here as well. I want to conclude by sharing something I read recently in an article. Research is an important tool to understand the complexities of a problem. Conducting research develops a better understanding and enhances decision-making capabilities. I'm asking those that lead our school district to not base such an important topic such as Hannah, Justin, Tate, and Madison's memorials on others' research. Let your students have a voice and apply what we have to say. Oxford has educated us to be thinkers, risk-takers, and communicators. Please give us the opportunity to apply those traits. Let the smiles of Hannah, Tate, Justin, and Madison shine in our school. Let their smiling faces be a reminder to all current and future Wildcats of what is good in this world. Thank you.
My name is Brady Elling, and I'm a 10th grade student at Oxford High School. Tate Muir was my boyfriend. There's no way to describe the impact Tate had on my life and the lives of so many others. He left a lasting impression on everyone he met. He was sweet, caring, funny, and the most selfless person I've ever met. I'm lucky to have had him in my life, and I'm angry at the way he was taken from all of us. When I look at pictures of Tate, I relive the memories we shared together and hear his contagious laughter. When I look at pictures of Tate, I see a person who loved life and saw the positive in every situation. When I look at pictures of Tate, I see a person who loved his family and friends and would do anything for them. When I look at pictures of Tate, I see a hard worker who put his team before himself. When I look at pictures of Tate, I remember the wonderful, loving human being he was. When I look at pictures of Tate, I do not see the horrific way that his life was taken on November 30th. A photo of Tate should never be described as a trigger for others. His picture should not be associated with the tragic events on November 30th. It should only be a reminder of the amazing person he was and how we should strive to be more like him. A photo of Tate should put a face to the person he was and the life he led. I see pictures of Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison every day. Their friends see pictures of them every single day, and everyone at school sees their classmates or teachers wearing their apparel at school. But we can't see their faces in a memorial that is being made for the purpose of honoring and remembering them. The uniqueness and individualism of Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison is being taken away from them. Excluding pictures of Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison on the temporary memorial does not honor them the way they deserve to be honored. They are not triggers, they are our friends, our classmates, and our teammates. They were innocent victims, and we should be doing everything we can to remember and honor them. We should be making sure everyone knows just how special they were, and that includes seeing their smiling faces so that everyone can put a name to their face. According to the experts the school district has consulted, seeing Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison's faces trigger emotions. But walking into school every day, every morning, triggers emotions. Walking by the bathroom triggers emotions. Being in your 5th hour triggers emotions. Yet we still do it every day. We lived through this tragedy and we lost people we loved. The experts should not get to decide what happens in our school. We are the ones who walk into the school every day where we know our friends took their last breath, not the school consulted experts. They were our classmates, and we should have a say in how they are remembered. The 5 stages of grief are fueled by emotions. Being able to openly grieve in front of a memorial with the faces of Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison is important and absolutely normal. Why is it being implied that we should not view a memorial if it has the capability of evoking strong emotions within us? You have to face your emotions to grieve correctly and efficiently. Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison weren't just a name. They weren't just initials. They weren't just hearts. They had lives, families, friends, and faces. Please reconsider placing their photo on the temporary memorial.
Good evening. My name is Olivia McMillan, and I'm a senior at Oxford High School. Justin Schilling was one of my core people and still is. Justin was smart beyond his years, hilarious without even trying, and overall one of the kindest humans I've ever met. He was truly a light to this world, and as his family worded it, Justin burned brighter and exuded more energy than the average person, fitting a vast amount of love and experiences into his short life. I was lucky to be part of some of those experiences and feel the love Justin put out into this world. So much of Justin is embedded in my life. The simplest things have become such a significant meaning to me now. Things he said that my friends and I quote. Thursday nights, the color yellow, the month of May, certain songs, film photography, and as he would say in my vlogs, calling me the unfunny David Dobrik. He deserved way more than what he got, and he deserves way more than what he is getting from this school and how they're deciding to honor not only Justin, but Hannah, Tate, and Madison. As being a close friend, I've heard both sides of the argument that the school has made. One second, we're being told something can't be done because the families and close friends are at the top of the list, and I agree. They should decide where and when the temporary memorial should be put up and what it should be, to honor their sisters, brothers, daughters, sons, and best friends. But then the next time, the excuse is we need to take everyone's triggers into account. I forgot my best friend's face is a trigger. But to who? Because I look at it every day. I get texts from my friends and other classmates expressing how they love to see his face and hear his laugh. Whether it's 4 hearts or not having their faces at all in the temporary memorial expressed nothing of who Justin, Hannah, and Tate and Madison were. If anything, that's more upsetting than seeing 4 pictures of them in some of their happiest moments. I look at this photo every day, and it's almost like I can hear his laugh again. You take photos and record videos to remember these moments with the people you love. The administration say they are talking to trauma specialists in other schools who went through similar events. But why are they not talking to the experts themselves? Us, students, staffs, and family members. We know what affects us and what triggers us. Not a psychologist 3 hours away or an administration from a different state with a different traumatic experience. This community, the staff, students, and families are the experts at this. We were there on November 30th. We knew Justin, Hannah, Tate, and Madison. We saw them every day. We heard their voices and their laughs, and we have memories with them. They aren't here to fight anymore, and it's our job to honor them correctly and to continue to express the love and light they brought to this world. They should not and will not be forgotten about. Their faces should be remembered. Their smiles should be remembered. That's the bare minimum this school could do for them. My siblings should have the comfort knowing Justin's memory and smile is here so that they're not scared to come to this school one day. They should be able to see him smiling back at them and tell their friends of who he was and what they did for him, what he did for them. Justin had such a bright future and deserves so much more. They all deserve more, and also deserve more than just a banner with, whether it be 4 yellow hearts or without their faces. Our friends are more than that. Growing up, we're told to speak up for what we believe in. We're speaking up to honor our friends and family correctly. I hope you hear us and allow our friends' smiles to live on throughout this school, and let Justin, Hannah, Tate, and Madison live on through this temporary memorial. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Maddie Johnson, and I'm a graduating senior at Oxford High School. I'm here tonight to share my input on the temporary memorial here at our school, which consists of 4 plaques to represent the victims. Tonight, I'm speaking for a 17-year-old girl named Madison Baldwin. I'm going to tell you why this memorial doesn't even begin to represent the person that she was. Now, I'm sure you all know the surface level stuff. You know her name, you know her age, you know that she was kind, quiet, and smart. You know that she was an artist, but do you know anything more than that? Unless you were close to her like I was, the answer is probably no. You look at her photo on the news and see a tragic end to a young life, while I see my best friend. You know, people all around this world know her as a girl who died, not a girl who lived. And Madison Baldwin lived. I promise each and every single one of you that there is so much more to her than you realize. So let me tell you 5 things you probably didn't know about Madison Baldwin. First, she was so optimistic. Even on her hardest days, she would walk into class with a monster drink in her hand and a smile on her face. She could always find the good in even the most inconvenient situations. Second, she loved nature. All creatures, no matter the shape or size or color, from the creepiest spiders to the cutest dogs, all animals had a special place in her heart. She believed all life had value. Number 3, Madison loved to doodle. Of course, she was an amazing artist, but she also loved to make tiny, minimalistic doodles. She drew on anything in sight, including gum wrappers, hence where the t-shirts came from. This brings me to the 4th thing. She could pick up on other people's emotions. Again, this is another highly rare gift that requires a certain special type of human. Madison listened more than she talked, but this made her wise. This is something everyone looks for in a friend, but not many people ever get. I will forever be grateful for someone as compassionate as her. And last but not least, the final thing you need to know about Madison Baldwin is that she's not gone. Neither is Hannah, or Tate, or Justin. All of the love they had for the world stayed put when they passed, spreading through the air like a wildfire. I feel that love in the drive-thru of McDonald's when I see someone pay for the person behind them. I feel that love in the spring breeze. I see it in the flowers that grow behind my house as they emerge once again from the winter. That's the thing about love. Bad things happen, people get hurt, the world feels like it's ending. We attend funerals and watch the news. We wait for the next names and faces to appear next to a photo of a school somewhere, praying it never comes but knowing it will. We watch others go through what we went through and sit down bashing, blaming, and hating. But the truth is, we can't fight evil without embracing the love first. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd like you all to think about it. Why are we considering it taboo to have a memorial with their faces? If you listen to everything I said about Madison Baldwin and what she stood for, why should a photo of her face upset you? More importantly, why should a small plaque in the middle of a courtyard that's only open a couple months of the school year be the only thing to remember a person so special? Madison deserves photos of herself on display. She deserves a mural, a statue, a garden, anything and everything to prove to the world that she is more than just another victim of one of these senseless, preventable school shootings. Because in a few years, those of us who experience this tragedy will be graduated and off to new places, and new faces will enter the school, curious about the violence that took place when they were too young to understand it. They will see those plaques and wonder who they were. Over time, they will start to forget about the 4 kids who never got to grow old. The kids whose lives ended on a random November day. People will forget about the news stories, and the news stories will become more sporadic, and those who never learned from the mistakes of the past will be condemned to repeat them. The cycle will continue like it has since Columbine. The initial shockwave, the thoughts and prayers, the news updates that become less and less frequent, and then everyone forgets the victims and that they lived on this planet at all. Well, I have no interest in pretending like this tragedy never happened. I have no interest in burying the hatchet just so more children can bury their friends. I have no interest in avoiding the subject or refusing to speak about it or covering things up with ribbons and banners. The Oxford High School shooting happened, and it's a part of us forever now. Since no one can change it, we need to do the next best thing: honor our victims properly. So as survivors and as friends and family to these 4 victims, it is our job to make sure the world doesn't forget them. We owe it to them to see that their names are remembered and that their faces are engraved in the minds of as many humans as possible. We owe it to them to do everything in our power to make sure that this ends with us, so that no more little siblings have to wonder why their older sister never came home that day. So that no more parents have to live their worst nightmare, and so that no more kids have to walk across the stage and get their diploma while looking at an empty seat saved for their dead best friend. So let me ask you this, why the plaques? Why is my best friend's picture considered too upsetting to look at? We understand that you've talked with professionals, we understand that you've consulted skilled trauma experts, but what makes them experts? Have any of these experts ever run from bullets or sank to the floor in despair when they realized that they survived but their other half didn't? Have any of these experts ever lost a child to murder? It goes along with the argument of consulting other schools that have had mass shootings. Yes, we understand that none of the other schools have photos of the victims on display, but we are not those other schools. We are the only school in America with a mass shooting that reopened the area where the violence occurred so quickly. We are unique. We don't have to do things just because others did those things. We can choose our own healing path. We can plant our own garden and water it with the love that will never be gone, even if we try to ignore it. So if you take anything away from this, leave with this. This is not about memorializing a tragedy. This is about celebrating a life. 4 lives, actually. 4 lives full of laughter and friends and memories. Don't be like the rest of the world and forget them. Help me remember them. Help all of us students remember them. Don't put plaques in the courtyard for all to see. Let those of us closest to them help you do something bigger and better and more personal. Something that lets you feel the warmth of their smiles and that lets you hear their contagious laughs. Something that reminds us all that these children should still be here. Don't install a grave to remind us that they died. Install a celebration to remind us that they lived. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ava Vogler. I'm a junior, and as a student, I have come here today to be the voice of many that feel they are not being heard, that our opinions don't matter, and so-called experts are making choices for us that do not represent what the majority of us have been trying to communicate. This administration claims that a memorial in a visible location will upset and disrupt the daily lives of many students. What they fail to consider is our actual viewpoints. As a fellow classmate, I am even more disturbed and unnerved by the fact that my classmates came to school that day having no idea it would be their last, and who are continuously misrepresented and remembered in improper ways. After countless attempts to convince this administration of a different location, a poll was sent out 2 months ago regarding the location of a temporary memorial by my fellow classmates. In this poll, 700 students we could reach picked the location of the temporary memorial to be placed in a visible location. This poll was responded by the administration with a simple thank you email, and no further action was taken. This administration is repeatedly failing to recognize that by not honoring the beautiful souls and smiles lost that day, they are striking an even more emotional response to a much louder crowd of people. When we again attempted to convey our opinion, we are met with an email stating, and I quote, "A great deal of thought, listening, and consideration has factored into our approach and decisions to honor these 4 children. This is a very contradicting and frustrating to me as a student who has repeatedly emailed and oftentimes not received a response. With my friends, classmates, and teammates repeating the same information to me, it's hard to believe that families and the people of Oxford's ideas were ever truly considered in this administration's final decision process. Families of the victims were not consulted about the final decisions either, but rather informed of a plan that was already in place. Why do experts seem to think seeing the faces of our friends, especially our closest friends, is a trigger? Regardless of seeing them, they are always on our minds. That's not a trigger. That's part of preserving their memory. Having the right to remember everything about them is ours. We want to remember the best things about them. We cannot ever forget, only learn to carry on. Triggers come from a lot more than a memorial. A memorial we students started. A memorial that was taken down because some experts said it was best. Who was it best for? For some, yes, but not for all. Again, none of us were questioned. We were told. Now it's our time to tell you. We want our friends remembered. We want them seen. We want to be able to move forward by our own choices, not because someone told us what they think is in our best interest. Please allow them to live on with a memorial that will be viewed by all who walk our high school now and in the future. Please don't make assumptions about how to help us heal or what's best for us. Everyone heals at their own rate and on their own schedule. Before making any final decisions, I'm asking you to please listen to us, the students, what we believe is best and what we want and need. Our friends are way more than just words or symbols on a sign, and as their friends, it's up to us to be their voice. Thank you.
Anyone else from the group there? No. Okay, everybody's spoken? Yep. All right. Okay. Where was the Oxford High School input? Students as a whole were not surveyed or heard. Faces are not the only thing that is triggering. A faceless memorial is not enough. Please listen to us. The picture reminds us of their lives, their contagious laughter. There are things that are always going to be triggering. Pictures are not the only thing. We are reminded of them every day, and specifically by name when we see certain gear being worn. And that also could be triggering, but it triggers us in a different way. The faces will help with the grieving process. We want to be reminded of the love and energy that these individuals had. I look at my friend's face every day. I'm guessing on a phone. What if hearts are actually triggering the other direction? And I guess what I mean by that is that what is being proposed could be as triggering or more. We don't want to memorialize the death of our friends. We want to celebrate their lives. Please let our opinions matter. Know that those pictures are not the only triggering thing that we're experiencing in life. We want them to be remembered, and those pictures solidify that. Please listen to us. Did I capture it? Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I don't think any of us said at all that the pictures were triggering.
No, I said that other things would be a trigger.
You were saying the pictures, it would be something the pictures aren't triggers.
If I said that, I meant the opposite. What I heard you saying was that there's all sorts of things that trigger us every single day.
But the pictures are not.
Yeah.
The pictures are actually what I think was not a memorializing of their death, but a celebration of their lives. You see the essentialness of the pictures. Yeah. That's the point I was trying. Yeah. So if I misstated, sorry, but that's what I hear what you're saying. Listen to us. Excuse me. Have at least as much control as these kids have. They're doing a great job.
I'm
sorry. We said that being in the hallways and walking in my bathrooms are triggering.
Yes, that's what I meant. So please, I don't know where I missed it, but what I heard you saying is just coming to school every day is triggering.
Shut up. You're making it worse. You're the problem right now. You're the trigger.
Okay. We need to have control of the room, please. They're trying really hard, and I want to make sure we're listening. What I hear you saying is you want us to rethink the whole thing, and you want us to put pictures on, and you want it for the very reasons that I said. There's other things that are triggering. We're not eliminating them. This is, so please, we don't see it as triggering. We see it as a remembrance. We see it as a celebration of life. We're looking at their pictures every day on our phones. We talk about them all the time. We remember their laughter. I think that's what I heard you all saying. Respect.
Yeah, that's correct.
So if I somehow missed in what I was saying, it's because I'm talking too much. But I heard you. And I've got the notes. All right. So there will be discussions. Obviously, we have to continue to discuss this. This group, you've been heard. Thank you. All right. Can I ask one question? Are any of you in this stack, or are you all under the one name?
No, we're all there.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure if I needed to pull other names out. Please, hooray to you. Proud of you. Proud of you standing up for your friends and standing up for what you believe. It's what we're teaching you. So thank you. All right, there is an Aaron that lives on Glass Lake, could be, wants to speak about the third party. Aaron? Oh, thank you.
First, I want to apologize to you, President Donnelly. I lost my temper with you a second ago. As you can tell, this is a very emotional day. I'm sure that all of these meetings have been this way. And I want to say that I support every single staff member that comes to school for you guys every day. And I support all of you guys for coming here and make your voices heard. It makes me so proud of the education that we're providing these kids. But they don't feel heard. I think you can see that by the attendance today. They don't feel heard. And Superintendent Weaver, I've always appreciated your honesty and apologizing when you know you've done things incorrectly and moving forward, and I know that you will choose to listen to these kids. My question, as you are not looking at me again.
I'm writing notes.
We can't hear you. Can you hear your mic on?
Oh, is the mic off?
No. We can't hear her.
It's on, okay.
Oh, it's not.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm listening. I'm listening as you're talking.
But as a parent in this district, I've been told the best thing for my 2 children that attend this school, who've lost friends, is to send them back to school. And every day, I trust this board to make the right decision for my kids. And you guys have failed. You failed. You are not transparent. I think that the attendance here shows you that today. And if you can take one thing moving forward, try your best to be transparent. We are giving you the most trust that we have in this world, putting our children in your hands. We deserve better from you. And I'm sorry I have to say it that way, because I really know you guys are in a tough spot. But when you have a third-party investigation that's going to be done sometime in the future by a scope that you guys are going to decide what that scope is, and then you're going to pay these people, yeah, that feels real transparent. It's wrong. Why are we paying somebody when the Attorney General does this? She's offered to do it twice now. She's even said, she's uniquely qualified because of the fact that she knows how to deal with all the evidence. Have you guys even talked to her before you made this decision? Because this whole meeting has felt like you're covering your asses. That's all. Thank you.
appreciate your support for the staff and students. Yes, I think we've seen here that a good portion of the students don't feel heard. Sorry that you feel that we have failed or aren't transparent. I guess we all can have opinions on that. I will say yet again, it needs to be even the AG. It's not the right time. If 2 months ago we would have selected someone to do a third-party review of November 30th, they could not have done it and still could not start today. The information is not accessible. The prosecutor holds all the cards. She holds all the information, and she needs to prosecute, and justice needs to be paid. Please.
Have you guys talked to the AG? You're making all these assumptions.
It's not time yet. No, I'm not making an assumption. Please, we can't. It's not a
I'm going to call a point of order for decorum. Point of order for some decorum.
Yes.
Because if we're not going to do that, then I'm done.
Yep.
I have a lot of respect for these young people right here. And I'm not going to let this argument and this conversation happen while we're having a conversation about these 4 young lives.
Yep.
Let them do what they're going to do. Then we'll talk about that later.
All right. Mike Gildner.
Thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I came tonight initially to talk about the memorial. I cannot do any better than what those young ladies did. I'll leave it at that. What I heard most recently is people don't feel heard. I may suggest this. Super impressive to have this many young people sitting front and center at a meeting. I can't imagine you get this much attendance and interest at meetings. And getting kids interested in public events, super difficult. For the record, your public time started at 9:15 tonight. Your meeting started at 6:30. That goes a long way to telling these young people who had to wait through very important business. I have no doubt, looking through your agenda, all of that stuff is important. All of that stuff needs to be handled. But I'm disappointed that when you walked in and you see all of these young faces sitting here today, you didn't make a simple amendment to your agenda. Move up public time so that the young people can have their say, go home sometime before 10 o'clock, and yet still be heard.
Mike, thank you. The suggestion was for the board to consider in the future with something like this to possibly move unscheduled audience participation into an earlier side and do business later. And I've got that suggestion written down. Thank you. Daphne?
Hi, I'm a junior at Oxford High School, and originally tonight I was not planning on talking, but I figured there's a few things I wanted to address real quick. One main thing is, if any of you guys ever walk into any classroom here at the school, you will see there is a picture of one, if not all 4 of the students. Those pictures are there because teachers know that that makes us feel better, and we need to see that. So that should be proof enough that we need pictures, not just random shapes. And another thing is, you guys, in an email on Friday, said that putting out a survey for the memorial, it would not work because it doesn't really get accurate data all the time. But every single advisor class, you guys always have us do a survey on our emotional well-being. And so if it doesn't work for the memorial, why would it work for our emotional well-being? So yeah, that's it.
Daphne, thank you. You've mentioned that there's already pictures scattered throughout the building and inside of classrooms of these 4 students, and so thank you for that information. Also, why does a survey not work in one direction but works in another? And why wouldn't it work in both? 2 thoughts that are worth looking at and considering. Thank you. Elise?
So I was gonna go off a script for this, but now just sitting here for the past 3 hours, my mind has changed, and I'm gonna speak from the heart. I'm not gonna read off a sheet of paper. So all of us here today that attend Oxford High School, or even parents, siblings, are here because we don't feel heard by you guys. And going off of what the other people said, you guys are saying that pictures are triggering. But like Daphne just said, we have photos of all of the victims in every single one of our classrooms. We're seeing photos of the victims and our friends all over social media every day. And we feel like we're not being heard. We're not asked for our input on these memorials, or not even just the memorial, everything in general, but specifically the memorials. Like, Hannah, Tate, Madison, and Justin were more than just 4 golden hearts and a description. They were people who lived their life, and their lives were taken too soon. And they're more than 4 golden hearts. Like I said, we already see photos of them every day, and it's not triggering. We like to see them because it's keeping their memory alive. And having photos on the memorial is way less triggering than just having 4 shapes. It's more triggering to just have 4 shapes because they're not being honored properly by 4 hearts. That's all. I wasn't planning on speaking, but since I'm up here, I'm going to speak anyways. How many people have the same initials that are TM or MB or HSJ or JS? Many people, I'm sure. So having their initials with a heart is not enough at all. Thank you. This girl has social anxiety, so that was a really big thing of her to do.
Once again, hearing loud and clear that you're not feeling heard. Photos in classrooms, on your phones, social media. So the pictures are more in your life than not in your life, I think is what you're screaming out. And the pictures help represent the person. Said another way, initials and a heart are not enough. That's too abstract. And if we can see the pictures in our classrooms, and we can see the pictures in social media, and we share the pictures on our phones, we're past the fact that they trigger us. And it also keeps the memory alive. And what if, I think it was said by someone else too, the 4 hearts being so abstract may be just as triggering. for others. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Last name is McCarthy.
Hi, thank you for having me. So, I don't know how many kids you have at Oxford High School. I am a senior. I've been here 4 years. I learned my 7th grade year that I could do anything with an essay. Ms. Monkevich told us if we wrote what we wanted to, we could probably, solve our issue with the CER. And we did. We solved dress codes, water bottle fountains, God knows what else, schedules for the middle school. We've all changed that. That was my grade. And here we are again, not just my grade, but the grades below me. The grades that we've put an impact on with those essays and those changes. For this, that we're not being listened to. I've heard how many students come up here say the same thing over and over and over again. How many times does it need to be repeated over and over and over again? I had this whole script. I wrote everything in like 15 minutes because that's what I was taught to do in high school. To do this, to say, to speak my mind. I had what a memorial was. I had these experts that I found, on 1MDM or whatever you want to call it, because I don't know what your guys' experts are. Haven't heard one single name. Haven't seen someone walk through the door. Who are these experts? I've not met one. I've not heard a name besides Dr. Henry, who might not even be real. He could be a guy in a wig for all I know. Have you guys met one? I haven't. I have heard so much about memorials and so much about how we're going to get back together, how we are strong. How can we be strong together if we are separated? If there are two lines right here between students who want something and you guys saying that we can't have it. People are bending over backwards for the simplest thing, a photo, a memory. For the people in the future, for when my sister comes into school, not knowing what happened really because she was too young, not knowing who these people were. She could know a name, but what does that say about them? How many Tates are in this world? How many Justins? How many Hannahs? How many Madisons? With the Y. How many? Those names are not enough. We need photos. We need those memories. We need to know who they were. Not for the people here, but for the people coming in, from the people 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Because what are we without them? We've been told that these 4 souls, these 4 angels, are always watching us, but their names can't watch us. Right? I've been told that you guys have the best interest in us, and yet we're all here for the same issue. And I think that speaks more values. How can you get reelected next time if we're all here, the future voters, for you guys, when you're not listening to us? How are you sure that your next term, that you're secure in your seats right now? Because you're not. If this is the turnout, if you keep on twisting our words, if you keep on telling us something that isn't going to happen. We've been told over and over again these fake promises that, we're going to get a memorial, we're going to have photos, we're going to tell these stories of these people who have passed, and the next second we're told, oh no, we can't have that. For some odd reason, for some student that I have not heard of, I have not heard one student complain. I have not heard one student get more triggered than they get for passing a bathroom or in a hallway or walking into the school getting their backpack checked. How many times do we go through this cycle without realizing that it's not the photos that are the problem? It is the fact that this could have been prevented. And it's the fact that this situation while we're sitting here could have been prevented just by a couple months ago, keeping up a memorial, or just giving us some stupid photos of people that we care about so dearly that should be here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. who are these experts, and I think embedded in that is where do we as a group fit in as some of those experts that are the ones that have to live and breathe and be here every day. How can we be stronger together? It's impossible if we're divided. The names are not enough. We all have names, but a picture is a person to a name. It's not just for us, but it's for people in the future. Do you see that we're here, and are you listening? We are triggered every day. Bathrooms, hallways, backpacks being checked. It doesn't seem reasonable to be preventing the pictures. Samantha? Samantha O'Haron? Samantha O'Haron? Maybe she had to leave. I'll set it right here on the side. Maybe she's at the restroom or something. Lillian Pratt? Lila, L-I-L-A-H? Lila.
Okay, hi, I'm Lila Pratt. I'm a junior at Oxford. Our feelings need to be considered in these situations, and you are not allowing our voices to be heard. The courtyard that you have decided to put this memorial in is an extremely inconsiderate place to put it. There are memories tied to that area that are very negative. We want to remember and see our friends' faces, not just their names. As many times as you claim to understand, you are presenting to us that you do not. Our friends deserve much more than you are giving them. This feels disrespectful and disregarded. This is extremely upsetting that we have been told to be open and talk about things to heal, but we continue to be disregarded and ignored. It's exhausting. It's time for you to start listening. We can't heal if we are being pushed aside.
Our voices are not being heard. We want to see faces. Our not listening is disregarding and disrespectful to your desires and your perspective. Lila, thank you. Olivia McMillan? Okay. Ava? Sylvia? Madeline Johnson? Last name is Bilby? Bilbey? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Lori Bergeau? Lori?
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak today. First, I want every student here to know that we are proud of you and we support you. I'm sorry you had to come here today, almost 6 months after the tragedy you lived through, to hopefully be heard tonight. As for the board, I'd like to encourage you to please complete a grant to work with the NCSS immediately as grant time is up in early to mid-June. They will continue the work that you are already working with the plans that you have in place and set up a thorough safety and school plan for you. Next, I'd like to agree with the students. You should not be identifying the faces of these 4 young adults that we lost as triggers. The trigger is sending them back to the same classrooms they were in on November 30th, making them walk down the same hallways and use the same restrooms, just with new carpets and paint. The 4 we lost are beautiful souls, angels, heroes, best friends. They're not triggers. I'm not speaking about this because I feel strongly about it one way or the other, but I'm speaking about it because these kids, the experts, feel strongly about it. And you need to hear them and listen to them. If it means putting the photos in places with low foot traffic, then if that makes you feel better to do it, then do that. But give them what they need. Give them what will help them heal. Stop calling the 4 kids triggers. Finally, I'd like to encourage all of you on the board to resign immediately and allow board members who have our student safety and security as a top priority step in and take over, because you're clearly concerned about you and not us. We are tired of being lectured by Mr. Donnelly every second Tuesday of the month. We are tired of being told you are doing things that are too secret to tell us about. We're tired of being told that you know what's best instead of you listening to the real experts, these students. We heard you tell us that an investigation will bankrupt the school, and we understand you feel that is due to results of the investigation bringing to light the many mistakes that the administration made, causing more lawsuits. But please understand, your response today, stating you will not do this investigation, will be the cause for additional civil cases. Denying to complete the investigation immediately before the new school year tells us everything we need to know. We need the protection from your poor judgment. Thank you.
First, shared how proud you were of the students. The grant, would you state that grant again, please?
National Center for School Safety, University of Michigan.
Thank you.
STOP grant, STOP, Stop School Violence.
Yep. Stop saying the faces are triggers, and a little bit different than some of the others, but similarly, just returning to school, being in the same building, same hallways, way more triggering than seeing their faces. And you've pushed through and adjusted to those. So why are we making a big deal about the faces? Give them what they need, and then the desire or expectation that we would all resign and let some other people do this that actually care. Marcy?
My name's Marcy Enriquez. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. And I know I'm supposed to speak to you, Tom, but I have to tell you guys, I'm very proud of you. I don't have a high schooler, but I hope that she grows up to be like all of you and can speak their voices like you have tonight. And for you, the board, this is such a hard thing for you to guys have to navigate and try and take into account everybody. What I was encouraged about hearing tonight is that you aren't done with the memorial and that you are looking to start up a committee that will include the students. So I hope you guys did hear that. They do want to hear more from you. And again, I'm very proud for you speaking up tonight because I think that's going to go far with the board. I'm very glad to hear about the security that you brought in, the security committee that you brought in, and the work that they've been doing behind the scenes. I understand why they couldn't and why you couldn't say what they were doing. And he can't relay everything that he's doing and what the whole company is doing to keep the kids safe going forward. Again, I don't envy this position for you guys tonight, but I'm glad to hear that you are willing to listen to the students. And I thank you for what you are doing right now. And I hope that you will continue to relay your messages as you're going through the different steps of the review process as you're doing. I know you're not doing all of it right now, but each step that you complete, we do definitely appreciate the feedback that you'll give to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, proud of the way the students have handled themselves and can't agree more. Please listen to the kids. Appreciative of the safety and security update that was given today by SEC. And please keep updating us on, keep communicating to us. Then I think we have one other one that just came in. Linda?
Hi, good evening. Nobody back there can hear anything, so I'm going to try to talk really loud.
All right.
So my name is Linda Watson. I addressed you guys once before at the third-party subcommittee. You were not there, so that's the confusion on your face. My son is Aiden Watson. He is a freshman here. He was one of the kids who was shot. And what I am coming to tell you guys are two different things. Regarding the third-party review, something that you said actually made me fill out that form late. So a while back, I attended a meeting with the AG's office where a lot of people attended. I am the one who stood up and said, ask the board again. Ask the board again if they will consider your evaluation. Because somebody shared with me, not at this time. We're trying. My family is trying. We are not suing you. I need to know that it's going to be okay for him. And I hear that this third-party review won't happen for a very long time. And that when it does, it's going to look at things moving forward, which is fantastic. However, what's going to look at safety that day? And what things need to have changed that occurred that day and leading up to it? I want you to know that I asked the AG to do that, also because that day, my family met with the prosecutor's office. Because she is meeting with each of the 11 families. And we asked her, are they not allowed to do this? Are you not going to cooperate? She said that is absolutely not true. And that is why she put something out about that. She is not withholding information. And in fact, when we asked her about that, she encouraged us to do an interview with the news, to gain transparency where we couldn't find it. We have not done that. You are leaving us with no choice. How do I get answers? I don't want to leave. I've even considered being a part of you guys. I want to help. But I need it to be okay for my son and everyone else's son and daughter too. And you guys need to know that. The other thing I want to mention is that shortly ago, I seen someone put on social media about one of the kids who passed away, how her sister could not return to school, but she was advocating for a memorial with faces, but going to school was so triggering to her. That is not fair. That is not fair. And I can tell you that I asked my son, a kid who was shot here, is a memorial with their faces going to be triggering for you? It's just one kid, but he said no. A memorial with faces. A memorial with photos honors their lives, pictures of them when they were alive, the memories that they have. Other types of memorials could look like gravestones, especially to these kids. It's celebrating their death when they want to honor and celebrate their lives. I think that might be the biggest sticking point with these kids. I just need you guys to hear what everyone is saying, because most of us want to be here and work with you. But we won't be able to continue doing that if things don't happen to help assure our safety, our kids' safety, and to know that you actually listen to the people that go to school here. A memorial with faces is not triggering to my son. What's triggering to my son are things that happen in the community, and then he gets scared to come to school. Because when he comes here, it's not very consistent with security all the time. What's also triggering to him is a large crowd like this, which is why when I asked him to come, he was like, no, I can't, I'm in pain, my leg hurts because I golfed today. I don't know what else to do other than to beg you, because we all matter here. And we're all just trying to get this done in a manner that makes us feel safe and honoring what needs to be honored here. It's not formal, it's not written out, and that's all I have. So thank you.
Linda, thank you for sharing. The third-party review, you went to the AG's presentation, asked her to try again. You talked to the prosecutor, and prosecutor said that it's just not true, that the information is openly available to be used. Multiple times, even with a child that was wounded in this event, that you want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. You want to help. That your son would not be triggered by the pictures. And back to the way one of the young people had stated that something abstract is going to just simply memorialize their deaths, where we want to celebrate their lives, which a picture allows us to do. And so, begging us to do the right thing. One thing that I assure you is that in the next few days, I'm going to address why we're hearing different things from the prosecutor. And because I need to be clear about that. And what do I mean by that? 3 attorneys have FOIA'd the prosecutor's office for the details of the events, and the prosecutor said no, denied the FOIA, said that would not provide that data or information until after it begins to be released in the trial. That's what we've been hearing from day one. From day one. And if we're hearing that wrong, I want to hear it straight from her. straight from the prosecutor. So yes, I'm telling you that I'm committed to find an answer to that question, because in due time. All right. I think that was that. Oops. Last name, M-A-T-Z. Owen.
I'm Owen. I'm a senior. I just graduated. And I originally came to the board meeting to support my girlfriend's little sister, Kana, and Sylvia, who were best friends with Hannah. And these kids, they come out here and pour their hearts and souls in these speeches, but all you do is just write down what they say and repeat it back. We just wanted to answer. That's all we want. You just write down what they say and repeat it. I haven't heard one single solution to what these kids are asking.
Look at him while he's here. Look at him.
I feel like we're not getting anywhere. These kids, 8 kids have come up here and said the exact same thing. And all I've seen is you just repeat in a monotone voice, faces aren't triggering. We want answers. Thank you.
And one quick thing, I'm Cooper Ballinger, and I just gotta say, you guys all know what is right deep down, unless you guys are literally heartless. I'm just saying.
The unscheduled audience participation of school board meetings is a time for you to communicate with the board, and we listen. Hence, that's why all the notes. What typically happens after this is that we sit down with the notes and the cards and we begin to have discussion. It's not designed to have that discussion right now. We've heard, we've digested, and now we're going to have to sit down, communicating with Mr. Weaver, communicating with cabinet, talking to a prosecutor.
It's a simple request.
It is a simple request. The answer needs to be a global answer, and
I think the question is it enough? Is this all enough for you?
it's not a dialogue now. I'm trying to tell you that.
Call for
Can we get a point of
adjournment.
order, please?
Yeah. Be done with it. Point for an adjournment.
All right.
It's been 5 months!
Yeah, I think maybe if we can,
Call for an adjournment.
people don't understand the process.
Yep. Okay. I want to say that we're proud of you. We thank you for sharing your thoughts, and we are going to take these to heart. We are going to have some discussions, and I think that's it. Is there anything under clarification?
Just wanted to make sure that we understand that as far as the process goes and where we're at, didn't say that we wouldn't have something with faces on it or anything as a memorial. We have not figured out all of the steps. What I said was basically, and I did hear the students and I know what the students want, but that one individual, myself, could not do that, knowing also what all the experts said as well too. That weight of that decision is not to be borne by one person. So I went as far as I could with what I could. If you want to be upset with me, I understand. I appreciate that you are giving me your opinions. Welcome it. You've done it in a very upstanding manner. Very proud. But as we go forward, at this point, it will be through input in a committee that it looks at this decision. I am not going to bear the weight of this decision alone. Yes, you are. You are asking me because you are asking me to put this in.
Point of order,
Excuse me,
Mr. President.
point of order, let's close the meeting.
Thank
This
you.
is ridiculous, folks.
Meeting is adjourned.